Chapter 1441 3 years. What's going on? Looking at the apparently resurrected corpse, Dongshan dazzled with doubts. At this time, although the corpse opened his eyes, it seemed that their experiment had been successful, but Dong Shenyao was not happy, because the resurrected corpse was like a puppet at this time, and there was no movement. Right. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed in Dong Shenyao's mind, and at the same time, the resurrected corpse finally moved. I saw him sit up, and then looked at the people present suspiciously, but did not speak. Sure enough, is it because there is no memory? At this time, Dong Shenyao had already discovered that something was wrong. Although the modified soul is theoretically no different from the original soul, there is no memory of the original soul. It seems that this experiment is not perfect. At least some memories need to be instilled. Otherwise, don't talk about the battlefield, and even life will be a problem. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao looked at the researchers around him and said, "Okay, calm down, I think our research is not perfect and needs to be improved." Quote, "Doesn't your lord know what's wrong with 21? Isn't this okay?" a researcher asked. "It doesn't seem to be a problem, but haven't you found out that this transformed soul has no memory, so he can't even speak? Do you think this is a problem?" The researchers exclaimed when they heard that, and they all reflected it at this time. No, according to the previous assumption, since it is a copied soul, it should carry the original memory. A researcher said with a frown. Dong Shenyao and the others had thought about the matter of memory before, but according to their speculation, the transformed soul would have the memory of the body, but obviously they were wrong. "I think it should be that our research has made a mistake in a certain link, so now everyone is working harder and saying hello to this mistake." Yes. In this way, the people of the Technology Development Bureau are busy again. It is relatively simple to just find the error, but in 2 days, the wrong place has been found, and the next step is to improve. Time is like water, the sun and the moon are like shuttles, and 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye. In the past 3 years, a lot of things have happened in Seoringe. Of course, it is more accurate who is the 12th division. Many things have happened. 3 years ago, Dong Shenyao discovered the shortcomings of soul transformation. After the 12th division was only it took half a month to perfect it and then carry out the experiment. This time everything went smoothly. The corpse that had been infused with the transformed soul was successfully resurrected, and it still had the original memory. Seeing that it was successful, the 12th division began to resurrect death gods in large numbers. The original dead god of death reappeared, obviously something that could not be concealed. Soon the research on the transformation of the soul carried out by the 12th division was spread. Many gods of death felt that this research was unethical, but with the death of a large number of people, the resurrection of the god of death has indeed lightened the burden of other gods of death, so everyone did not say anything. In the past 3 years, there has been a huge breakthrough in the Vanguard plan explained by Captain Yamamoto, and now the reformed soul of the officer-level officer can already have 100% of the strength of the main body. However, due to some reasons, the transformation of the soul of the officer-level officer has not been put into the battle for the time being, but in Seoringe, some questions about the transformation of the soul have also appeared. Since the modified soul can be used repeatedly, even if the modified soul dies again, as long as another righteous soul pill is added, the corpse will be resurrected. It can be said that as long as the corpse is still there, it can be used indefinitely, so many times the captains of each division will give priority to dispatching those transformed souls to perform tasks. Although the Shinigami of the Gote 13th team all had basic wages, the wages were actually not much. If you wanted to earn more money, you had to perform tasks to get them. And now most of the tasks have been completed by the modified soul, which makes the ordinary death gods earn less money, and the ordinary death gods also feel that their status is threatened. They are afraid that they will be completely replaced by the modified soul in the future. So some people began to protest, but because the number of protesters was still small, Captain Yamamoto didn't say anything. "Sir, I have an idea. In the Technology Development Bureau, UGOXU suddenly found Dong Shenyao. Oh, what are your thoughts? Let me know. Dong Shenyao asked curiously. My lord, there is no war breaking out now, and the senior officials will hardly fall, so even though our technology is mature now, we have never had the opportunity to conduct real experiments, which is very unfavorable for our research. So can we another way of thinking is to copy the soul of the god of death while also copying their spiritual body, so that even if the god of death has not died, we can let the modified soul participate in the battle. After hearing Yuji U's words, a faint light flashed in Dongshin's dazzling eyes. This is the experiment carried out by Yu Oshu in the original book. He still proposed it, but it's okay, this technology will eventually appear. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao nodded and said, You said yes, then I'll give you permission to do this research. Thank you very much for your support. Shu 663 Shu seemed a little excited about this matter. He felt that as long as his research was successful, his name would surely spread throughout the Seranjie. Immediately, Yujiao Oxu invested in the research, and although Dong Shenyao did not directly participate in it, he continued to carry out the research on transforming the soul, but he was still paying attention to Yuja Oxu's research progress. At this time, Urahara Kazuki has reached a bottleneck in the research of collapsing jade. East God-kun, it's hard to make a big breakthrough in Bengyu's research in a short period of time. I want to return to the Technology Development Bureau. Okay, that's just right, the top soldier plan is handed over to Urahara-kun. Tashinyao said with a smile on his face. Tungshin-kun, don't you want to be the shopkeeper? Hearing this, Urahara Kazuki said with a suspicious look on his face. Of course not. Well, you can participate in the research now and have a good understanding of the progress. As for me, I have to start other research now. It came to another research room. After handing over the vanguard plan to Kazuki Urahara, Tashinyao also freed up his hands, and what he wants to do at this time is still to study the transformation of the soul, but different from the transformation of the spirit of the vanguard plan, what he wants to do is to create the soul. Chapter 1442 Ling Mukuro. As I said before, the research that Kiryu Hibun conducted at the beginning was not the clone of soul, but the creation of soul. It's just that the difficulty of creating a soul is much greater than that of cloning a soul, so when the research of soul transformation was carried out at the beginning, Dong Shenyao chose the clone soul. Now the technology of cloning souls has matured, but research in this area is not very helpful for the growth of Dong Shenyao's strength. So after he handed over the top soldier plan to Kazuki Urahara, he began to study the creation of souls. In recent years, because there has been no research on creating souls, there has not been much progress in this area, and it is still impossible to get rid of the limitation of lifespan. The created spirits hardly survive a day. The soul has always been very mysterious. Even with the ability of Dong Shenyao demigods, he still can't fully see the true meaning of the soul. Creating a soul can help Dong Shenyao better understand the soul, so he will take the initiative in this aspect. Research. However, it is really difficult to create a soul. Even with the research results of Kiryu Hikun, it is very difficult to continue to develop it, not to mention that there is no one else to help, and I don't know how long it will take to rely on Dong Shenyao alone. Breakthrough. But Dong Shenyao is not in a hurry, anyway. There are still hundreds of years before the plot begins. Although Dong Shenyao's main energy is now on research, he still hasn't let go of his cultivation, and he spends some time every day for cultivation. At this time, in terms of the amount of spiritual power, Dong Shenyao is not bad compared to Jingle Chunchui and Yukitaki Shuru, the old-fashioned death gods, but it is a little worse than Ujiwali and Captain Yamamoto. After all, the time gap of more than 2,000 years is not so easy to make up. Even now Tashinyao doesn't know how strong Captain Yamamoto is. Although Captain Yamamoto is usually harmless to humans and animals, when facing him, Tashinyao can still feel a lot of oppression. With the passage of time, the contradiction between ordinary gods of death and the transformation of souls has become more and more serious. Although the gods of death did not do anything to transform the souls, they kept protesting to the commander-in-chief, and more gods of death participated in it. This made Captain Yamamoto, who had left it alone, also had to pay attention. Hey, it's time to come, but I don't know how long it can be suppressed. Captain Yamamoto had a headache. In recent years, due to the emergence of soul-modified souls, the death rate of Death God has plummeted. This situation makes Captain Yamamoto still attach great importance to soul-modified souls. If possible, he really does not want to ban the use of soul-modified souls. It's just that Captain Yamamoto knows that it is impossible to continue like this. Once the dissatisfaction of the entire Saraiti Shinigami is aroused in the future, then it will be the time for the transformation of the soul to die. The current Captain Yamamoto is not the same as he was more than 1,000 years ago. Compared with the past, Captain Yamamoto's temper is undoubtedly much better, and even the hostility on his body has weakened a lot due to years of recuperation. If it was 1,000 years ago, with the temper of Captain Yamamoto, he would not care about the protests of other Shinigami. As long as he thinks it is beneficial to Saraiti, he will do it. But people always change, and over 1,000 years, Captain Yamamoto has changed a lot. In addition to the transformation of the soul, the recent disappearance of the Shininge Shinigami has gradually attracted the attention of some people. Before, only some Shinigami who went out to perform missions disappeared, but recently, some Shinigami disappeared in the Sarange. If it was only once or twice, it would be fine, but when it happened more than once, it immediately attracted the attention of interested people. In particular, the 10th Division, which was in charge of the security of Sarange, began to investigate this matter, but there was no result for a while. Half a year later, under the leadership of Urahara Kazuki, there has been a big breakthrough in the research of soul transformation. The created captain-level transformation soul has the strength of 60 to 70% of the main body. In addition, Yu Oshu's research on spiritual body cloning is even more finished. When Yuji Oshu excitedly handed over the experimental results to Dong Shenyao did not hesitate and praised him directly in public. My lord, I haven't given a name for the cloned spirit body. What do you think it should be called? When the god of death comes to life, we need to use the righteous Mukuro. It belongs to the human body. Since this is a spiritual body, it is called a spiritual Mukuro. What do you think? It sounds very good, as expected of an adult, and the name is so good. Yujao Oxu flattered. After getting the research results of Yuja Oxu, Tashinyao directly found Kazuki Urahara, and then told about the spirit Mukuro again. With Mukuro then we don't need corpses because we can make whatever body is needed at any time. Showed a look of shock on his face and said, this is definitely an invention with a huge impact, but Dongshin-kun, have you really thought about using it? You must know that it is now because of the transformation of the soul and the cause of it. Many gods of death are dissatisfied, once the news about Mukuro spreads out. Even those senior gods of death will not be able to sit still. Urahara Kazuki said worriedly. I know this, but the transformation of the soul will be banned sooner or later, so we don't need to have so many concerns. Anyway, the top soldier plan was personally ordered by the commander-in-chief, and even if it was banned in the end, it would have no effect on us. Now all we have to do is keep the program going until it's banned. Okay, since you've decided, then I'll continue the research. As a researcher, although Urahara Kazuki understands the impact of transforming the soul on Saraiti, he prefers to invent more high-end things. Although the spirit Mukuro has been developed, the transformation soul of the officer level has almost the strength not weaker than the main body, but if you want to combine the two perfectly, further research is needed. However, the difficulty in this aspect is not difficult, and it has been successful in less than 5 days. On this day, the people from the Technology Development Bureau gathered in a research room, and even Dong Shenyao was there, because today was a very important day, and the first clone of Mukuro combined with the modified soul was about to be born. The one who chose to copy this matter was a strong officer of the 12th Division. He was also a researcher, so he agreed to use himself as a template for cloning. Slowly putting the Yihunwan into Mukuro's body, everyone suddenly widened their eyes and waited for the result. Chapter 1443 Clone Death Success. As the Yaikunwan was placed in the spirit Mukuro, the eyes of all the people in the laboratory were on the spirit Mukuro, waiting for the result. It must be successful. Yujao Oxu clenched his fists, and he was extremely nervous at this time, because this matter could be said to affect his reputation. Although there would be no loss if he failed, once he succeeded, he would definitely it will bring him great prestige, which can also allow him to prove to those who looked down on him in the past that he is a genius, not a waste. After a few seconds, Ling Mukuro opened his eyes. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes at first, but he soon became bright. Ling Mukuro quietly looked at the people in the laboratory. He has many memories of the body, so he is naturally aware of the current situation. Hello. Spirit Mukuro's main body walked to the cultivation warehouse, and said with a trembling voice. Ling Mukuro opened his mouth, but no sound came out, which was not surprising to everyone, because it was normal that Ling Mukuro's voice could not be heard because the nutrient solution was filled in the cultivation tank. However, they could tell from Mukuro's reaction that the experiment was a success. At this point, most of the people fell into joy, so they didn't think about how to deal with this spirit Mukuro in the future. After all, the replica is a replica, not the 673 body, nor can it replace the body. It can be said that the replica is doomed from the moment it appears. No one wants to have their own clones, and Mukuro is very aware of this situation. After all, he has most of the memory of the original body. Looking at the people in the laboratory, Ling Mukuro showed a complex look in his eyes. He knew that the next thing waiting for him was destruction, and the main body would not allow his clone to exist. Although it is only a clone, the spirit Mukuro still yearns for life, and he does not want to die. Fight! Thinking of this, while everyone was immersed in joy, Ling Mukuro shot. Boom! With one punch, the training warehouse was blown up. After all, this time, an officer was used as the template. At this time, Mukuro also had the strength of an officer, and it was not difficult to break a training warehouse. Crash! The glass shattered, and then the nutrient solution spewed out. Ling Mukuro knew that there were many strong people present, which he could not deal with at all, so after being freed temporarily, he did not hesitate, and immediately fled to the outside of the laboratory. Where to go? Just now, everyone else ignored Mukuro because of excitement, but Dong Shenyao didn't. He had already guessed the reaction of Ling Mukuro, so he was ready to shoot. Not good. After hearing Dong Shenyao's shout, Ling Mukuro was shocked, but before he could think of a countermeasure, the sword light flashed, and the next moment Ling Mukuro's body froze in place. PFF'd. Blood splattered, and then Ling Mukuro slowly fell into two halves and fell to the ground. After a few seconds, Yihanwan fell out. Bang! Dong Shenyao walked over and stepped on it with one foot, directly smashing the Yihan pills. This time, this transformed soul was considered too dead to die. At this time, the laboratory was silent, and they did not expect such a thing to happen. Everyone, although our experiment was successful, it also failed. This kind of uncontrollable test product is a failure, so the next thing you have to do is to prevent the test product from happening this time again. Dong Shenyao looked at the researchers present and said, "Yes." When everyone heard the words, they responded loudly. After explaining the matter, Dong Shenyao didn't stay long and left soon. Next, under the leadership of Urahara Kazuki, the people from the Technology Development Bureau began to improve the technology. The first is memory. In order to prevent the transformed soul from rebelling, Urahara Kazuki decided to selectively instill the memory of the transformed soul instead of completely instilling the memory of the main body. After deliberation, in addition to some common sense information and combat skills, the instilled memory also has loyalty to Seorite. 5 days later, another experiment was carried out. This time there was no accident. The transformed soul did not resist, but just looked around curiously. Seeing that the experiment was successful, Urahara Kazuki immediately notified Tashinyao of the result. Seeing this, Tashinyao didn't hesitate, and quickly found Captain Yamamoto. Captain, there has been a huge breakthrough in the Vanguard plan, take a look. After speaking, Dong Shenyao handed the information to the captain. After reading the information, Captain Yamamoto showed shock in his eyes. He did not expect that the 12th Division could achieve this level. Phew. After taking a deep breath, Captain Yamamoto stared at Dong Shenyao and asked, East-Shin-kun, according to what the documentation says, you can make countless chairperson-level powerhouses. Theoretically speaking, this is the case, but it is impossible to make countless senator-level powerhouses. Whether it's a senator-level transformation soul or a spirit Mukuro, it takes a lot of spiritual children to make it. So it takes a lot of time to make an officer-level modified soul and spirit Mukuro. At the current speed, on average, only one officer-level clone death god can be produced every day. However, if the technology is more mature in the future, then this speed can be accelerated. After hearing Tashinyao's explanation, Captain Yamamoto breathed a sigh of relief. If it is really possible to create an infinite number of senior officials, then he will definitely order the destruction of this technology immediately, because that is too dangerous. If it is obtained by careerists, once tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of officials are created, the level powerhouse is terrifying when you think about it. Master Captain, now the officer-level clone death god can go to the battlefield at any time. I don't know if it should be applied. I approved it, and it can be put into use. After thinking for a while, Captain Yamamoto made a decision. When Dong Shenyao returned to the 12th Division with the commander's instructions, he immediately ordered the creation of clone death gods. Immediately, many 12th Divisions began to make continuous productions based on the senior officials level death gods of Seirenge. A month later, 30 senior-level clone reapers were officially put into use, and it didn't take long for everyone in Seirenge to know about it. Clone the god of death, and it also has the strength of a senior officer. It's terrible. Many gods of death showed horrified expressions when they learned of the situation. Especially those who served as the template of the senior officials level death gods, when they saw their clones, their eyes suddenly showed hostility. It didn't take long for Captain Yamamoto to receive a large number of protests from the god of death, and this time, many senior officials at the level also participated. Chapter 1444 Ban. With the use of the officer-level clone death god, it also made those officers-level powerhouses feel a sense of crisis. Although there have been reformed souls before, because those reformed souls are only the strength below the officer level, they can't threaten the status of the powerhouse, so those officers don't care. But now, these officers can't sit still. There are only 30 senior-level clones of death gods. From the information they have received, the number will double again in a few months, and Seirenge will probably not need them by then. In order not to lose their jobs and keep their positions, those strong officers at the chief officer level also began to protest to the chief captain, and even some captain-level death gods were a little anxious. In the beginning, it was just an ordinary reaper, and now even the officer-level reaper can be cloned, so wouldn't it be the captain-level reaper next? Thinking of this, some captain-level gods of death were anxious. In addition, the same is true for the nobles of Seorite. Once the number of strong people is too large, the status of the nobles will be greatly affected. If it was just those ordinary death gods protesting, Captain Yamamoto could not care, but now that even the chief officer-level gods of death have begun to protest, he has to pay attention, because the chief officer-level gods of death can already be regarded as the mainstay of Seorite Jinchuriki column. Although the captain-level powerhouses are powerful, the number is limited after all. Many things need to be handled by the senior-level powerhouses. Therefore, Captain Yamamoto cannot ignore the opinions of so many seniors. Even in the next few days, a captain-level death god found Captain Yamamoto, and in the conversation, he put forward a very subtle resistance to the Vanguard plan. In addition, the pressure from those nobles also gave Captain Yamamoto some headaches. Hey, it looks like that can only be done. After a helpless sigh, Captain Yamamoto ordered Tashinyao to be found. Captain, do you have anything to do with me? Dong Shenyao asked. East God-kun, I just received a report that although the commander-level clones of death gods created by your 12th division are quite powerful, they are prone to fall into rage during battles, and there will even be indistinguishable between the enemy and me. Therefore, after my careful consideration and everyone's opinions, I decided to stop the Vanguard plan and destroy all materials related to the Vanguard plan. Finally done. Tashinyao was not surprised when he heard the words of Captain Yamamoto, because he had expected such a day. As for the so-called falling into a frenzy, that is just an excuse, because these shortcomings can be overcome, and the real reason is the resistance of those gods of death. As for Captain Yamamoto's decision, Dong Shenyao naturally would not object. He nodded and said, "No problem, I will go back and execute it immediately." "But Captain, I think the research on soul transformation can continue." "Oh, why do you say that?" Captain Yamamoto asked curiously. "I think the reason why most gods of death resist transforming souls now is mainly because of the problem of cloning. If we don't use clones, but create new souls, then is there no problem? My plan is to create a modified soul specially used for combat. They have nothing to do with any soul of the god of death, but an independent existence, and there is no need to use the corpse of the god of death. Through the spirit Mukuro technology, a brand new one can be created. At the same time, my body and strength will not threaten those officers. I wonder what the commander-in-chief thinks about my plan." This. After hearing Dong Shenyao's words, Captain Yamamoto was a little moved. Although many people are now resisting the transformation of souls, in fact, most people are because they can't stand cloning and resurrecting the dead. Not to mention cloning, no one wants to see another self. As for resurrecting the dead, many gods of death consider it a blasphemy to the dead, and few people hope that their bodies will not be peaceful after death. It is for the above reasons that so many people resist. As for the fear of being robbed of their jobs, apart from those officials, there are not many ordinary death gods who resist the transformation of their souls for this reason. Because at present, due to the small number of death gods, the task is heavier, so many death gods have complained before. After the soul transformation, many gods of death are relieved. Although there are fewer tasks to perform and less money to earn, for the time being, it has not touched the bottom line of most gods of death. Therefore, Tashinyao's Yoshikunwan plan made Captain Yamamoto quite excited. Even if he knew that this plan might be banned in the future, at least it was very helpful to the current Seirei. "Okay, Dongshin-kun, I approve your plan, but the previous thing about cloning the god of death must be banned, and no further research is allowed," Captain Yamamoto said sternly. "Yes," Dong Shenyao hurriedly agreed, "at least on the surface. It is unknown whether he will study it in private." After saying goodbye to Captain Yamamoto, Dong Shenyao hurriedly returned to the 12th Division and began to deal with the transformation of the soul. At the same time, Captain Yamamoto also issued a ban on the transformation of the soul. Seeing this, the gods of death were overjoyed and relieved at the same time. "Everyone, please stop what you are doing, I have something to say." After entering the research room, Dong Shenyao interrupted the busy researchers. "What's the matter, sir?" Urahara Kazuki asked. Captain Yamamoto issued a ban on the research on cloning the god of death, and also on the previous research on transforming souls. "Ah!" Dong Shenyao's words immediately caused an uproar in the laboratory. "How can it be like this? Wasn't this what the commander-in-chief asked us to study? How can we stop now when we say stop?" "Yes, the commander-in-chief can't do that. How much effort have we put into this research?" Just when everyone was complaining, Yuzhao Oxu didn't speak. At this time, he clenched his fists with both hands and bit his lips, his eyes full of unwillingness. Seeing that he is about to become famous in one fell swoop, but now the emergence of this ban has shattered his dream. "No, I won't just give up," Yuji Oshu thought firmly in his heart. "Don't be discouraged, everyone, the commander-in-chief has not completely banned the research on soul transformation, but we have to change the direction of research next, that is to create souls in a new spirit Mukuro, which has no connection with other gods of death, so that's fine." Quote. After hearing Tashinyao's words, many people saw hope again, but Urahara Kazuki frowned slightly. Chapter 1445 Upcoming Conspiracy. Transforming the soul and cloning the god of death is indeed an amazing technology. What do you want to say about Dongxian? In a room like a research room, Aizen Soyusuk said, looking at the Yihanwan in his hand. Indeed, this technology is very powerful. If we continue to develop it, once we can clone a captain-level Reaper, I'm afraid Saranjay will no longer need Reaper. Toxian, who was standing behind Aizen, said. Yeah, it is precisely because he felt the threat of this technology that the Commander-in-Chief issued a ban. Although this technology is powerful, it is a pity that it cannot improve the strength of the God of Death, so it is still a waste in my opinion. While speaking, Aizen's fingers squeezed hard, and suddenly crushed the Yishin pill in her hand. Lord Aizen doesn't know when our plan will start, I can't wait. Dongxian asked. Don't worry, now is not the time. Silver's strength is not enough, so it will take a while. After he also understands Bankai, it is time for us to implement the plan. When he said this, Aizen's eyes showed a trace-killing intent. Although the captain's ban had some impact on the 12th Division, it was not subversive. Although most people were a little unwilling, they finally accepted this fact and began to study the battle-type transformation soul. Dong Shenyao has never given up on the research on creating souls. After years of research, he has overcome the difficulties left by Kiryu Hikun, that is, the problem of longevity. Now he can create a modified soul with the same lifespan as a normal soul. The next thing to solve is the issue of strength. On the third day after the ban was issued, the experiment was over, and when Dong Shenyao was about to go home, he was stopped halfway by Yu Oshu. What's the matter? My lord, I'm not willing. After hesitating for a while, Yuja Oxu bit Kiba and said what he said in his heart. When Yan Dong Shenyao smiled slightly, it's because of the ban. Yes, the commander-in-chief is too much. We have worked so hard to develop the results. How can he say that it is forbidden to prohibit it? This is strength, the captain has strength, so we must listen to him. Dong Shenyao said helplessly. Hearing this, Yuji Oshu's eyes lit up, and Dong Shenyao's attitude made him feel that he had hope of fulfilling his wish. Although the captain is not allowed to continue the research, I don't want to give up. Since I can't conduct research openly, I will research it in private, as long as no one finds out. I hope you can support me. Oshu looked at Dong Shenyao expectantly. Dong Shenyao did not speak in a hurry, but stared at Yuji Aksu. As time passed by, Yuji Aksu gradually became a little nervous. Finally, after 5 or 6 minutes passed, Ta Shenyao spoke. I can agree to your request, but all this can only be done in secret. I can provide everything you need for the experiment, but all this can't be known to others. And if this matter is exposed, it will also be with me. It doesn't matter, it's all your own idea. Yuji Oxu knew that Dong Shenyao did this to shirk responsibility, but he didn't care. His purpose was to complete the experiment and create the expected captain-level clone of death. Don't worry, my lord, I did all of this myself, and it has nothing to do with my lord. I didn't find you, my lord, today. After Yuji Oshu said solemnly, he turned around and left. It's a wise man, what a pity. With a sigh, Dong Shenyao also left. Thanks to Ta Shenyao's previous research, the research on the combat-type transformation soul went very smoothly. With the efforts of Urahara Kazuki and others, a transformation soul with combat power could soon be produced. And unlike the previous clone-type modified souls, the current modified souls were created by Dong Shenyao and the others themselves, and had nothing to do with any god of death. For Ling Mukuro, instead of using clones, a batch of Ling Mukuro has been independently developed. Soon Ta Shenyao brought an experimental body to Captain Yamamoto. East God Kun, what are you doing to me this time? Captain Yamamoto asked. Captain, look, said Dong Shenyao, pointing to the god of death beside him. Huh, what's wrong with him? Captain Yamamoto was confused for a while. The commander-in-chief is the battle-type transformation soul that was envisaged before. Everything about him is original and has nothing to do with other gods of death, and he can't use Zanpakuto, but the combat power is not much worse than that of ordinary gods of death. It turned out to be a success. Captain Yamamoto was stunned when he heard that, knowing that it has only been a month since the ban was issued. He did not expect that the 12th Division had successfully developed the combat-type transformation soul so quickly. However, Captain Yamamoto quickly calmed down, and then asked, East God Kun, do you mean that this kind of battle-type modified soul can be put into use now? That's right. Well, now I approve. In this way, after receiving the command of the Commander-in-Chief, Dong Shenyao returned to the 12th Division and began to manufacture a large number of combat-type transformation souls. At the same time, he continued to order the Technology Development Bureau to upgrade this technology. Now this battle-type modified soul looks similar to the previous clone-type modified soul, but it is actually very different. The biggest difference is that the Zanpakuto cannot be obtained from the battle-type transformation soul. So from this point of view, it can be seen that although the battle-type transformation soul also has its own thinking, it belongs to the independent life form, but it does not belong to the god of death. This is similar to the Nirvana dream made by Nirvana in the original work, and Zanpakuto cannot be used. However, Nyan dream is more advanced, because Nyan dream is not a simple combination of Yihunwan and Mukuro, but a real and complete life. Regardless of whether it is the previous clone or the current creation soul, they cannot improve their strength independently. That is to say, what kind of strength they were when they were made, their strength will not increase until they die. This can also be regarded as a transformation of the soul. Cons. Soon, with the use of the battle-type transformation soul, there were some waves in the Seronje again, causing some opposition from the gods of death, but compared with the appearance of the cloned gods of death before, there were not many gods of death who opposed this time. Chapter 1446 The True Meaning of the Soul. Although the combat-type modified souls have not been fully accepted by the gods of death, there are not many gods of death protesting at present, because the appearance of these modified souls has made the gods of death a lot easier. While the people from the Technology Development Bureau continued to study the combat-type transformation of the soul, Dong Shenyao continued to carry out separate research, but this time he was no longer studying the transformation of the soul, but the true meaning of the soul. After developing the battle-type transformation soul, Dong Shenyao has been thinking about a question, that is, why the battle-type transformation soul can't use Zanpakuto, and can't cultivate and enhance their strength independently. What is the difference between them and the real god of death? The soul has always been very mysterious. Although Dong Shenyao had contact with the soul when he was in the world of Hokage, he also studied it a little, but he did not go deep. In the past, the soul was the carrier of memory and the embodiment of life in Dongshin Dazzling. For the strong, the soul is life, and as long as the soul is immortal, it is not really death. After coming to the world of Death God, Dong Shenyao found that the soul here is very special. In other worlds, the soul will completely dissipate after death, but in the world of the god of death, 21 will leave a corpse after the death of the soul, which is a bit inconceivable to Dong Shenyao. After research, Dong Shenyao found that in the world of the god of death, the soul can be divided into two parts, that is, the soul and the spirit body. The spirit body is very special. Even if the soul dies, the spirit body will not completely dissipate, which is the god of death. The reason why the soul of the world leaves behind a corpse after death. It's just that Dong Shenyao is not satisfied with this discovery. What he pursues is the true meaning of the soul. Zanpakuto cannot be used by the battle-type modified soul, but the clone-type Reaper can. The battle-type modified soul and the clone-type Reaper use the same spirit Mukuro, which means that the reason why Zanpakuto cannot be used has nothing to do with the spirit Mukuro, but with the soul. The soul of the cloned death god comes from the real death god. Although it also has the disadvantage of not being able to improve its strength, it is the same as the real death god in other aspects. So why can't the battle-type transformation soul use Zanpakuto? Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao fell into deep thought. Reforming the soul cannot improve its strength. It can be attributed to the fact that it is artificial. Although it looks similar to ordinary souls, it has no potential, so the soul cannot be strengthened, and it cannot accommodate more spirits, so it cannot pass cultivation. Become stronger. But Zanpakuto is only formed by using the power of the soul to nourish the shallow attack. Why can't the soul be transformed into the Zanpakuto by nourishing the shallow attack? Ming. After he couldn't figure it out, Dong Shenyao could only do research. After Tashinyao devoted himself to the study of the soul, he did not ask about the 12th division. Anyway, Kazuki Urahara was in charge of the Technology Development Bureau, Yakiryu was in charge of the Security Bureau, and Liza Yahomaru was in charge of other matters. Solve. As time passed, the ban thing gradually subsided, but another storm was brewing, that is, the conflict between the combat-type transformation soul and the god of death. Although the battle-type transformation souls were created by the god of death, they also have their own thinking, as well as joys and sorrows. Because the gods of death feel that the combat-type modified souls are created by them, they always have a feeling of superiority when facing the combat-type modified souls, and even oppress these modified souls. This made a lot of reformed souls resentful, but they were created by the god of death after all, and they still had some feelings for the god of death, so they did not show any resistance for a while, but this made the god of death more and more feel that the reformed soul was easy to bully. So a rebellious seed appeared in the heart of the fighting-type transformation soul. With the passage of time, this seed will definitely take root and sprout, and finally grow into a big tree. At this time, the serene surface was calm on the surface, but under this calm surface, undercurrents were surging, just waiting to explode. However, these have nothing to do with Dong Shenyao for the time being. His energy is now focused on soul research, because this is related to the improvement of his strength. Up to now, although Dong Shenyao has some directions for raising the soul level, it is only a few ideas. If you want to really upgrade the soul from the demigod soul to the divine soul level, further planning is required. At this time, the research on the soul is a means for him to find the evolutionary path of the soul. The cultivation of true gods has always been more difficult than that of world gods. As long as the world gods use the source of the world, they can raise their souls to the level of gods. However, those who practice the way of the true god need to find a way to improve their soul level. According to some information from the Otsutsuki family, some people who follow the way of the true gods will choose to use the power of faith to upgrade their soul level, but this has drawbacks, because it will make the gods rely on the power of faith. Even if the faith is lost, the gods may fall to the altar. Therefore, Dong Shenyao would not choose to use the power of faith to improve his soul level. In this case, he could only find another way. Time is passing by in Dong Shenyao's research, and as his research on the soul continues to deepen, he gradually discovers the defects of soul transformation. So it is. After nearly half a year of research and various references, Dong Shenyao finally discovered a problem. The world of the god of death also has reincarnation. Whether it is a phantom or a god of death, it will enter reincarnation after death. Some will be reborn in the present world and become ordinary people, and some may be reborn in the world of corpses and souls, becoming the descendants of the god of death. The transformation of the soul is different. It cannot be a combat-type transformation of the soul, or the previous clone-type transformation of the soul cannot be reincarnated. After they die, the soul will turn into a spirit and dissipate instead of reincarnation. The reason for this is because of their souls lack one thing than those naturally formed souls. Zanpakuto cannot be used by the battle-type transformation soul, because this kind of thing can be regarded as the core of the soul, and it is the difference of this mysterious substance that makes the Zanpakuto different. As for those clone souls being able to use Zanpakuto, it is because the Zanpakuto they use is actually a product of clones. What the hell is this? After realizing the existence of this mysterious thing, Dong Shenyao was ready to conduct further research. But at this time, he found that he was a little helpless. Chapter 1447 Riot begins. It turns out that this mysterious substance is the key to everything, and it is the existence of this kind of thing, so whether it is void or death god, when they die, it is not really death, even if the soul has disappeared, but this substance still remains. It exists, but under normal circumstances, everyone cannot perceive the existence of this substance, and it will enter reincarnation after the soul dies. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao couldn't help but think of a term he heard before transmigration, true spirit. There are many explanations about the true spirit, and one of them is that the true spirit is the origin of the soul. As long as the true spirit does not die, even if the soul is scattered, it may be reborn again. Moreover, all the memories of living beings are recorded in the true spirit. Reincarnation can erase the memory in the soul, but it cannot erase the memory in the true spirit. Therefore, those who have successfully cultivated can pursue the memories of past lives by comprehending the true spirit. Although I don't know if the real spirit really exists, I will name this substance after the real spirit. In this way, Dong Shenyao named the mysterious substance he discovered. Anyway, this substance was discovered by him. Yes, call it whatever you want. After discovering the existence of the true spirit, Dong Shenyao wanted to study it further, but at this time he found that he could not do it. Because although Dong Shenyao discovered the existence of the true spirit, he was unable to extract it. He could only feel the existence of the true spirit in his soul, but he could not find it or separate it from the soul. Then what if the soul is broken? Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao made a phantom, and it was still alive, and then directly killed the phantom. Sure enough, at the moment of Shu's death, Dong Shenyao noticed the existence of the real spirit, but the real spirit of the virtual disappeared in a flash, and disappeared in an instant, let alone capture. He did not see the real spirit. Where is the spirit? Can't you? After seeing this situation, Dong Shenyao frowned slightly. After discovering the existence of the true spirit, Dong Shenyao had a hunch that if he wanted to condense the soul, it must be related to the true spirit. But before he studied the true spirit in detail, he still had one more thing to do. Dong Shenyao first checked his body with the device that detects the true spirit. Looking at the result of the test, Dong Shenyao said to himself, sure enough, not only the souls in the world of death God have true spirits, but also in other worlds. Dong Shenyao will never forget that he came from another world. Although he is now in the world of death, after all, his soul does not belong to the world of death. Since he also has a true spirit, it means that the true spirit is not unique to the death god world. According to my speculation, the true spirit is the origin of the soul, or the real soul. As long as the true spirit is immortal, even if the soul is shattered, it can still be reincarnated. Although a demigod cannot die, once the soul is scattered, it will enter the cycle of reincarnation. But the real God, whether it is the world god or the true God, even if the god's soul is broken, it will not necessarily die, and there is still hope of resurrection. The reason for this should be related to the true spirit. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao's eyes lit up, but soon he showed a look of frustration. It's just that although the true spirit can perceive its existence, it can't find it, which is a bit difficult. Dong Shenyao has already tried, and now he can't even find the true spirit in his body. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for him to do anything to the true spirit. That's right, Bengyu. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed in Dong Shenyao's mind. Bengyu can make people evolve, and Dong Shenyao doesn't know if it can help him find the true spirit. No matter what, I have to try it. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao had a plan. But just when Ta Shenyao was about to ask Urahara Kazuki to borrow Bengyu, a big event happened in Seirenge. On this day, a bullied combat-type transformation soul resisted and killed the god of death who bullied him in one fell swoop, which also opened the prelude to the transformation soul's resistance. A large number of transformed souls joined together and began to attack the god of death. Although it has only been more than half a year since the transformed soul was used, it has already made the transformed souls fed up with the oppression of the god of death. At the beginning, because things happened too suddenly, the god of death did not react for a while, so many gods of death were killed. But when the god of death reacted, the riot of transforming the soul was quickly stopped. Although there are a lot of transformed souls, their strength is so poor that they don't even have an officer level. Soon the riot spread, and Captain Yamamoto immediately ordered that all the gods of death in the Seirei court participate in the turmoil. The riot was sent very abruptly, and it ended quickly. In less than a day, all the transformed souls were killed and caught, and the riot was completely over. And just after the riot ended, Captain Yamamoto held a captain's meeting, and the captains of each division gathered together. After everyone arrived, Captain Yamamoto's eyes fell on Tashinyao. East God-kun, the transformation of the soul was developed by your 12th division, so tell me your opinion on this matter. Captain Yamamoto said in a bad tone. Captain, it's true that our 12th division failed to monitor and transform the soul, but we can't blame us for this. I have already investigated. The reason why those transformed souls rebel is mainly because they are oppressed by the god of death, and most of the transformed souls are often oppressed by the god of death, and it is precisely because of this that they will resist. Hey, hearing that, Captain Yamamoto couldn't help but sighed. He already knew about this. In all fairness, it was indeed justifiable to transform the soul to rebel, but he also knew that although there was a reason for the incident, he would definitely not be able to use the transformation in the future. Soul is gone. East God-kun, you are right, this matter is indeed the responsibility of our death god. But no matter what, those transformed souls have already affected the safety of Seorite, so they must be destroyed. Also, Dongshin-kun will be transformed in the future. Don't develop the matter of soul and spirit Mukuro anymore. Captain Yamamoto said sternly. Captain. Before Dong Shenyao could speak, the ghost Yancheng Jonpachi of the 11th Division stood up. Oh, what's the matter with you? Captain Yamamoto asked quietly looking at the ghost Yancheng Kenpachi. Captain, this transformation of the soul has caused a lot of damage to my Seranjay. Isn't the commander-in-chief not going to punish Dong Shenyao? First clone of the god of death, and then the current transformation of the soul. What the 12th Division has done recently is indeed a bit too much. Kuchiki Silverbell interjected. Chapter 1448 Captain's Decision. What the 12th Division has done recently is indeed a bit too much. Before the others could speak, Kuchiki Silver Suzu interrupted. Although his tone was flat and he was talking about the 12th Division, everyone was not stupid, and it was natural to hear that he was blaming Dong Shenyao. Strange, when did Dong Shenyao have a grudge with Deadwood Silverling? Many people have doubts about this matter. Kuchiki Silverling is also a veteran captain. Although he is not comparable to Jingle Chunchui and the others in terms of seniority, he is also higher than Dong Shenyao and the new generation of death gods. In addition, he is the contemporary patriarch of the top aristocratic Kuchiki clan, and his status is in Seranjay still high. But usually Kuchiki Silverling is very kind to everyone, has no arrogance as a noble, and never targets anyone. It is precisely because of this that his performance today is surprising. At this time, Dong Shenyao was also a little surprised, and at the same time, he thought about when he had sinned against Kuchiki Silver. Why would he target him at this time? Captain Yamamoto was expressionless and didn't know what he was thinking at this time. He just waited for Kuchiki Silverling to finish speaking and glanced at everyone and said, "Do you have any other views on this matter?" After hearing this, everyone looked at each other, and finally Yi stood up and said, "Captain, although the transformation of the soul was indeed invented by the 12th Division, but after all, they also had good intentions of 533, in order to share the pressure of death, but I didn't expect it. This kind of thing will happen, but I don't think the 12th Division wants to see this situation. They must be very self-blaming now, so I don't think there is any need to punish the 12th Division." Everyone was not surprised that Yi spoke for the 12th Division. After all, they all knew the relationship between Yi and Dong Shenyao. And just after Yi finished speaking, Maoji Walai also stood up and said, "The reason for this transformation of the soul's rebellion is not caused by the 12th Division, but it is inseparable from everyone here. If it wasn't for the lack of management good teammates, many gods of death oppressed and reformed their souls for no reason, and I would not rebel even if they were to reform their souls." Quote. It was clear to everyone that Maojawali and Dong Shenyao walked closer. After hearing her words at this time, many people's faces showed shame. The captains present basically knew about the death god's oppression and transformation of the soul, but they didn't pay too much attention to it. At most, they just talked about it when they saw it. The reason for this is that these captains didn't look down on the transformation of the soul in their hearts, and in their subconscious they thought that the transformation of the soul was the slave of their god of death. It is precisely because of their indulgence that this kind of thing happened. However, some people feel guilty and others don't, such as the captain of the 11th team, Gui Yancheng Kenpachi. I don't agree with what Captain Unohana said. Those transformed souls were originally created by our god of death, and our god of death is their master. In this case, no matter what we do to them, we deserve it, because even their lives are given to us by us. Yes. Jiji Yancheng Kenpachi, you are contempt for life. Finally, the protagonist of this matter, Ta Xinyao, spoke. Our god of death's duty is to maintain the order of the three realms. We are not those who create chaos, so we should respect life. Although the transformation of the soul was created by our 12th division, they already have a kind of life, not without thoughts. Machines, so we should respect them. But how did you do it? Transformed souls help us to perform various tasks, and many transformed souls even sacrifice their lives for this. And all they get is a full meal, and they don't even need a salary. And in this case, he has to suffer the bullying of the god of death. You said, what would you do if you encounter such a thing? Anyway, if it were me, I would rebel too. Dong Shenyao's remarks were loud, and Hiriko Mako, Aikawa Luowu and others lowered their heads one after another. At this time, they couldn't help but sounded what they had done to transform their souls before, which indeed made them a lot easier. Hey, we're sorry for those who transformed the souls, but unfortunately, everything can't go back. Jingle Chunchui sighed, and his words also represented the aspirations of many people. Although many of the captains present thought that their death gods were a bit sorry for the soul-transforming souls, but with the previous rebellion, there was already a gap between the death gods and the soul-transforming spirits. Even if these captains could forgive the soul-changing spirits from the perspective of righteousness, those ordinary death gods it will not forgive. After all, many gods of death have died in the hands of the reformed souls in this riot, and the two sides have accumulated hatred. Okay, I know all your opinions. Let's stop talking about this matter. I have already agreed to the matter of transforming the soul before. The 12th Division is conducting research with my approval, so if I'm really held accountable, I'm also responsible. After hearing the captain's words, everyone shut up. Everything is done according to what I said before. This is the end of the matter. The 12th Division is not allowed to continue the research on soul transformation. Captain Yamamoto made the final decision. Captain, what about the Central Room 46? They are going to judge Dongshin-kun. At this time Kuchiki Silverbell spoke. There is naturally an old man in the 46th room in the center to explain. Captain Yamamoto said after looking at Kuchiki Silverbell. Kuchiki Silverling stopped talking and stepped back, with a look of disappointment in his eyes. Originally, he had no grudges and hatred with Dongshenyao, and with his character, he would not offend Dongshenyao. It was only before that the cloning of the god of death and the transformation of the soul had threatened the nobility. As the representative of the nobility, Kuchiki Silverling would only target Dongshenyao. Originally, he was going to take the opportunity to bring down Ta Xinyao. Even if there was no other punishment, at least he would lose his position as the captain. Now that the plan failed, Kuchiki Silver Suzu was naturally a little disappointed. Captain, I have something to say. Shuru Yukitaki said at this time. What's the matter with you? The commander-in-chief asked. Lord Captain, although there was a rebellion in the transformation of the soul this time, it proves that they have some shortcomings, but it is not useless. Mukuro, because many people have to perform tasks in the world, and even many people have to stay in the world for a long time. However, when the Shinigami of our squad fought against Shu and had to take off the righteous Mukuro would fall on the spot and be destroyed. Chapter 1449 Reborn from a Severed Limb. When death leaves Ji Mukuro will lose control, because this situation has happened many times that Mukuro has been destroyed, and sometimes it even scares people in this world. But since the transformation of the soul, the death of our squad can temporarily hand over the body to the transformation of the soul to control when fighting against the virtual, which is much more convenient, so I hope the captain will not completely prohibit the transformation of the soul. After hearing Shiro Yukitaki's words, Captain Yamamoto couldn't help but fall into contemplation, and at this time Toshinyao said in a timely manner, "Captain, since the combat-type transformation soul is flawed, then our 12th division can make A for non-combat type modified souls, even if they want to rebel, it will be impossible. It's just that this kind of non-combat type soul modifying effect is relatively small, and it can basically only be used by those gods of death who have passed away, but this further eliminates the possibility of soul modifying rebellion." Well, your attention is good. After hearing this, Captain Yamamoto's eyes lit up. He had been embarrassed by the 13th Division before, but he didn't expect Dong Shenyao to come up with a solution so quickly. As expected of the captain of the 12th Division, his mind is indeed flexible. Thinking of this, Captain Yamamoto continued, "Well, I will now order you to destroy all combat-type transformation souls, but you can create some non-combat-type transformations as needed." Soul. Yes. The other captains have no objection to the command of the chief captain, because the non-combat transformation of the soul is indeed not a threat, and it is only used by the death gods who have passed away, so there is no need to take the risk of offending Yukitaki Shiro to oppose this matter. At this time, Shiro Yukitaki glanced at Dong Shenyao gratefully. To be honest, transforming his soul was really useful for their 13th division. Okay, do you have anything else to talk about? If you don't, the meeting will be dismissed. Captain, I still have something to say. At this time, Dong Shenyao spoke again, which made everyone's eyes fall on him, wondering what else he would say. Oh, Dongshin-kun, what are you talking about? There won't be any new inventions, right? Captain, you're half right. What I'm about to say has something to do with invention, but it's not a new invention. This time I'm going to talk about Mukuro. Rei Mukuro. Why don't you plan to destroy Rei Mukuro's research materials? Captain Yamamoto's expression turned cold as he spoke. Yes, I don't plan to destroy it. Dong Shenyao looked at Captain Yamamoto fearlessly. Say your reasons. If you can't convince me, then don't blame me for punishing you. Although Captain Yamamoto's tone was still calm, everyone could see that he was a little angry. Captain, in fact, soul transformation and spirit Mukuro are two different things. Without soul transformation, spirit Mukuro cannot move, so it can't pose any threat to CORIT. Therefore, rather than destroying spirit Mukuro research, it is better to applying it to other areas will benefit CORIT. Quote. Oh, then I don't know where you are going to use the spirit Mukuro. At this time, Captain Yamamoto's expression obviously eased. Although he is not a researcher, but he has seen some information given to him by Dong Shenyao, he naturally understands that Mukuro's words alone are not dangerous at all. The same is true for simply transforming the soul. Only when the spirit Mukuro is combined with the transformation of the soul will it threaten the CORIT, but as long as it can threaten the CORIT, Captain Yamamoto will not allow it to exist. In fact, since the 12th Division began to study the transformation of the soul, the fate of this research has been doomed. Even without the protests and turmoil of the death god, Captain Yamamoto would not allow these things to exist forever. At this time, after hearing Dong Shenyao's words, Captain Yamamoto was also a little curious, not knowing how he was going to use the spirit Mukuro. Captain, in fact, the Mukuro technique can be applied to treatment. According to my assumption, as long as it can be used, then the rebirth of a severed limb can be achieved. What? Everyone in the room exclaimed in surprise. Although the name of the god of death has the word God in it, for ordinary people, the god of death is indeed like a god. But the god of death is not a real god after all. There will still be birth, old age, sickness and death. Most reapers go into battle, and battles inevitably involve casualties. It's okay to be dead, but there are still many gods of death who will have limbs mutilated in battle, and maybe their arms and legs will be destroyed by the enemy. Even for the god of death, it cannot regenerate if the arms and legs are broken, so most of the time, the god of death with a disability can only choose to retire. After all, their broken bodies greatly reduced their combat effectiveness, and they could easily die if they continued to fight. Even if the gods of death didn't care, Seoringe would not allow these people to die. If it is really possible to be reborn from a broken limb, then it will be a huge boon for the god of death, and there is no need to worry about the problem of physical disability in the future. East God Kun, can you really be reborn from a broken limb? At this time, even Captain Yamamoto, who had always seemed very calm, was a little excited. I won't tell you about the theoretical things. If you want to study it, you can come to me, and we will talk about it in private. Now what I want to say is that, according to the theory, the Mukuro technology can indeed regenerate a severed limb. East God Kun, according to what you said, this is only theoretical, so it means that it has not been tested, right? Captain Yamamoto asked after suppressing the excitement in his heart. Yes, I haven't tried it. Dong Shenyao didn't hide it either. Okay, Eastern God Kun, I can give you 3 months, as long as you can be reborn from a severed limb within 3 months, then I will allow you to keep the Mukuro technique, and even I can allow you to continue this aspect. Research. Quote. Please rest assured, Captain, I will definitely complete the task. Dong Shenyao said loudly. No one else objected, because the technique of rebirth from severed limbs was too important, and even if all of them were captain-level death gods, they could not guarantee that they would never have limbs mutilated. And if this technology can really be developed, then it is also good news for them. After that, everyone had nothing else to do, so they all left the captain's office. As soon as they came out, Yi and Maoji Walai found Dong Shenyao. Thank you 88,888 for the monthly ticket support. Chapter 1450 Yukataki Shuru's thanks. East God Kun, is it true that you are talking about rebirth from a severed limb? After finding Dong Shenyao, Ujawali asked first. As the captain of the 4th Division, Uno Hanali's medical skills are naturally not mentioned, but even she can't be reborn from a severed limb. Of course it's true. Do you think I'm lying to the Commander-in-Chief? Although I haven't tested it yet, according to the theory, it's possible to be reborn from a severed limb. Of course, there are conditions for wanting to be reborn from a severed limb. Oh, then I don't know what the conditions are. Anahakali asked curiously. Sister Wa, you should know that everything in the corpse soul world is composed of spiritual children, even our death gods are no exception. But although our death gods are also composed of spiritual children, the density of spiritual children is different. People with more spiritual power, because the body is tempered by spiritual power, so the density of spiritual sons that make up the body is higher, and accordingly, the number of spiritual sons that make up the body is also greater. Therefore, the stronger the spiritual pressure, the more difficult it is to be reborn from a severed limb. Is that so? Then I wonder if this technology is useful for the captain-level Reaper. Anahakali continued to ask. I don't know. Dong Shenyao shook his head and said, right now, the technology of rejuvenation from severed limbs is still in the theoretical stage, so everything can only be concluded after experiments. That's it. Wenyan Maoji Walai nodded and said nothing, then only listened to Yi asked. Dong Shenyao completed the 3 months of completion. Can you complete the technique of rebirth from severed limbs? Of course there is no problem. In fact, after the development of the Mukuro technology, it is much easier to conduct research on the rebirth of amputated limbs. According to my expectation, this technology can be applied to experiments in at most a month, of course. It's definitely not going to work out very well at first. Quote. Seeing that Dong Shenyao was so confident, Yi also breathed a sigh of relief. Because Yaiki and Ujawali were both captains and had to go back to manage their respective teams, they soon separated from Dong Shenyao and returned to their own teams. Just when Dong Shenyao was about to return to the 12th Division, someone found him again. But this time it wasn't a beauty who was looking for him, but a sick person. Ahem. Dongshin-kun, I have been wanting to express my gratitude to you before, but I didn't have the opportunity. Today, I am here to express my gratitude to you on behalf of all the Shinigami of the 13th Division. Captain Fuju, what are you doing? I didn't do anything for your 13th Division, did I? Dong Shenyao said in confusion. No, Dongshin-kun, you have already done it. That soul reforming is very useful for our 13th Division. After hearing Shiruro Yukitaki's explanation, Tashinyao showed a clear expression. It turned out to be because of the transformation of the soul. Although Dong Shenyao has never been to the present world, he is someone who has read the original book after all, so he naturally knows how much he can transform his soul, or how much help Yehanwan is to the god of death in the present world. In order to clear up the emptiness in this world in a timely manner, Seoringtae will specially send the god of death to be stationed in this world, and the task of the 13th Division is this. In the 13th Division, most of the gods of death are fighting against the virtual in the present world, because these gods of death need to stay in reality for a long time. It is impossible to exist in the state of death all the time. One is because it is too boring. After all, the state of death when they were there, most ordinary people couldn't see them. No one to talk to, no one to play with, it was scary to think about. There is also the issue of food. The god of death wants to eat, but the food of the present world cannot be eaten by the god of death at all, and it is useless. So if the god of death wants to stay in this world for a long time, then he needs to use the righteous Mukuro. Righteous Mukuro is equivalent to the human body. When the god of death enters the righteous Mukuro, it can be seen by ordinary humans. In addition, the righteous Mukuro can also absorb the wandering spirits to supplement the consumption of the god of death, so that the god of death will not starve to death. It's just that Yoshimukuro doesn't have a mind, it's like a puppet. In the past, when the Shinigami and the virtual were fighting, many times they had to find a safe place before taking off the Mukuro. When things are urgent, then death has no time to find a safe place. So sometimes the god of death had to throw the righteous Mukuro aside at will. When there is no control of the god of death, the righteous Mukuro is like a vegetative person. Sometimes this kind of situation will be discovered by ordinary humans, and it will inevitably cause some trouble. In addition, in many cases, Mukuro is easily destroyed because it is close to the battlefield. This made the Shinigami stationed in the present world have to replace the new righteous Mukuro frequently, which was not only troublesome, but also increased the expenses of the 13th Division. But with the modified soul, it is different. When the death god is fighting, you can let the modified soul control the body, which saves a lot of trouble. Therefore, Shiryu Yukitaki was a little anxious when he learned that the captain was going to destroy all the transformed souls, but he knew the character of the captain and would not change his decision at will, so Shiryu Yukitaki was not against it. Fortunately, Tashinyao came up with the concept of non-combat transformation of the soul, which made Shiryu Yukitaki excited and full of gratitude to Tashinyao. After all, the non-combat transformation of the soul has no effect on the 12th Division itself, and it was completely developed for their 13th Division. Captain Uzumaki, you're too kind. We are all warriors who protect Saranjay. Since I can help a little, of course I have to do my best. If Captain Uzumaki needs anything else, feel free to contact me. Then many thanks to Dongshin-kun. In the future, Dongshin-kun can come to me if he has any trouble. The two of them didn't say much, and some things were just tacit, and Shiruro Yukitaki soon left. Looking at Shiruro Yukitaki's back, Dong Shenyao narrowed his eyes slightly. Is it the Spirit King's 3.2 right arm? I can't notice it at all. It seems that I can't touch that power now. From the original book, Dong Shenyao knew that Shiruro Yukitaki had the right arm of the Spirit King hidden in his body, and Dong Shenyao was very curious about what kind of existence the Spirit King was. Although he has read the original work, there is not much information about the original work of the King of Spirit. Even Dong Shenyao couldn't be sure whether the Spirit King was a real life. It's just that Dong Shenyao also knows that with his current strength, he can't explore things about the Spirit King. After all, he can't even detect the power of the Spirit King's right arm hidden in Shiruro Yukitaki's body. How can he explore the Spirit King? Chapter 1451 Virtual Heart Demon. After parting with Shuru Yukataki, Toshinyao didn't meet anyone again, so he quickly returned to the 12th Division, and then directly repeated the commander's order. Now start immediately destroying all combat-type modified souls, and then start producing a batch of non-combat-type modified souls for auxiliary use. Yes. After receiving the order, the people of the 12th Division immediately took action. In fact, it is very simple to produce non-combat auxiliary modified souls. In other words, this modified soul is a semi-finished product of combat modified souls, as long as the modified souls produced have no combat power. And just when the people of the 12th Division were busy, Toshinyao called Urahara Kazuki over. Urahara-kun, in addition to the 2 orders I just said, there is one more thing to do. Oh, what's the matter? Urahara Kazuki asked curiously. Rebirth from a severed limb. Hearing this, Urahara Kazuki's eyes lit up and said, are you finally going to start researching this? As a top researcher at 21, Kazuki Urahara had already thought of rebirth from a severed limb the day he saw the Mukuro technique. At present, the spiritual Mukuro technology of the 12th Division is divided into 2 categories. One is cloning, which clones the same spiritual body on the basis of the original death god. The other is creation, the creation of a spirit body that was not there before. The severed limb regeneration technology is related to cloning. Since a complete body can be cloned, a part of the body can naturally be cloned separately. For example, limbs or internal organs. Therefore, according to Urahara Kazuki's vision, it is possible to use the Mukuro technique for healing. Whether it is missing arms or legs, or damaged internal organs, the big deal is to replace it with a new one. But that's easier said than done. Master of the 12th Division, it is not difficult to clone a part of the body. The real difficulty is how to perfectly fill the part of the cloned body in the incomplete place of the god of death. This is a difficult problem. Urahara Kazuki originally proposed to conduct research in this area before, but it was rejected by Toshinyao. Well, the research on rebirth from a severed limb is imperative. Only in this way can the spiritual Mukuro technology be preserved. Okay, now I will trouble you, Urahara-kun, to conduct research. Going to study the technology himself, because he has other things to do, the best thing to do is to leave this to Kazuki Urahara. No problem, it's on me, Urahara Kazuki said cheerfully. After talking about the rebirth from a severed limb, Dong Shenyao did not forget one thing that he thought of before. Urahara-kun, please lend me the Bengyu for a few days. Dong Shenyao had already thought about borrowing the Bengyu from Urahara-ki before, but it was only because of the transformation of the soul riot that he had to temporarily take this one. Let go. Now that the matter is over, Dong Shenyao is also ready to continue his research. No problem. Urahara Kazuki agreed without asking what Dong Shenyao was going to do with Bengyu. Soon Urahara Kazuki handed Bengyu to Dong Shenyao, and with Bengyu, Dong Shenyao returned to the laboratory. I hope you can help me. In the laboratory, Dong Shenyao thought to himself while holding the Bengyu. Sensing the power of the origin of the world carried in Bengyu, Dong Shenyao kept talking about the true spirit in his heart, hoping that Bengyu could play a role according to what he wanted. At this time, Bengyu had been activated by Dong Shenyao, and I saw a deep blue light emitting from Bengyu. At this moment, Dong Shenyao clearly noticed a surge of energy pouring into his body. This energy is somewhat similar to the source of the world, but it is different. Under this energy, Dong Shenyao found that his body had a tendency to evolve. This feeling is unclear, but he can clearly sense that the body is about to evolve. Could it be that Bengyu wants my body to evolve so that it can sense the existence of true spirits? Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao did not continue, but stopped Bengyu's work, because he was not sure whether Bengyu did this. Can really help myself. Although Bengyu is very miraculous, it is only the origin of the world, and there are not many origins of the world in it. It is not to say whether he can really sense the true spirit. Even if he can, Dong Shenyao is a little worried that his soul will be destroyed. After the collapse of jade, it will affect his cultivation. If this prevents him from becoming a true god in the future, but becomes a world god, it will be a bit bad. However, Dong Shenyao did not give up using Bengyu completely because of this. Although he is not ready to use Bengyu's power to find his true spirit for the time being, there is one thing that Bengyu can help, and that is the void in his body. Because of the cultivation with the help of soul coins, coupled with his excellent talent, Dong Shenyao has reached the limit in the accumulation of spiritual power at this time, so he is ready to see if he can use the collapsing jade to stimulate the emptiness in the body, or heart demon. After activating Bengyu again, Dong Shenyao felt it quietly. The energy belonging to Bengyu entered the body again, but Dong Shenyao found that this time was different from the last time. This energy did not make him feel evolutionary, but made him sense that something was nurturing in his body. Is it false? 690 thought of this, and Dong Shenyao waited quietly. Unconsciously, Dong Shenyao suddenly found that the scene in front of him had changed, and the next moment he came to a city full of modern atmosphere. What's going on? The sudden change made Dong Shenyao stunned for a moment, and he was a little confused as he watched vehicles passing by constantly. I'm not in CORIT, why did I come here suddenly? And even the present world of Death God should not be like this now. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he tried to calm himself down. After a few minutes, Dong Shenyao suddenly said coldly, "Come out, these are useless to me." As expected of the main body, you can see through all this so quickly. With a voice, the pedestrians and vehicles around disappeared in the next moment, and then a person with a mask appeared out of thin air. Is this what belongs to me? Looking at the person who suddenly appeared, Dong Shenyao began to look at him. Although the creature that appeared in front of Dong Shenyao at this time looked no different from ordinary people, except for wearing a mask, the aura on his body definitely did not belong to human beings. It was a very violent and messy aura, somewhat similar to the virtual aura that Dong Shenyao had seen, but it was a little different. Chapter 1452 First Encounter. Dong Shenyao and Shu have fought many times, so they are very familiar with Shu's aura. At this time, the person with the virtual mask in front of him felt a little weird. Although the aura of the person in front of him is similar to the virtual, there are also some differences. Shu's aura was violent and chaotic, and there was a hint of violence, evil and even some demonic nature in the aura of the person in front of him. Hello Dong Shenyao, this is our first official meeting. Finally, the masked man spoke first. Are you my dummy? Dong Shenyao asked, looking directly at the masked man. Void. Well, according to the world's understanding, I am indeed your virtual. Of course, you can also call me a demon. Devil. Hearing this, Dong Shenyao frowned. Seeing Dong Shenyao's doubts, the masked man explained patiently, we come from other worlds. Although we have integrated into this world, it is a little bit different. I am not a mere imaginary. I was born in the world of Hokage. But at that time, I was still very weak and didn't even have my own consciousness. It was not until I came to this world, under the influence of the laws of this world, that I had my own 943 meaning. It's just that I'm still not strong enough to threaten you. So I have been hiding it from you until now. Until you used Bengyu just now, its power made me stronger, and I succeeded in condensing my body. As long as I devour you, then I can replace you, and I will be Dong Shenyao in the future. I see, it seems that you have a lot of my memories. Dong Shenyao said, looking directly at the demon. Yes, I was one with you before I condensed my body. It can be said that it is a collection of negative emotions in your heart. I have all your memories, and I also know everything you know. Really? Then I just don't know what your strength is. Hee, do you want to know my strength? You will know if you try it. Heart Demon said very calmly. Don't think I don't know you. The reason why you explained so much to me just now is to delay time, even the illusion at the beginning is delaying time. Although Bengyu has made you stronger, it is still a little bit stronger than me. There is a gap, so you are taking advantage of this time to grow and develop. Dong Shenyao sneered. Yeah, I was discovered by you, but what's the matter? It's too late. If you attacked me as soon as you saw me, then I'm afraid I've already been defeated by you. But now, I'm not afraid of you anymore. As the voice of the inner demon fell, a violent spiritual pressure suddenly radiated from his body. Is greater than or equal to. Under this spiritual pressure, cracks appeared in the surrounding buildings, some rubble kept falling, and the ground began to shake. And LT. In front of this spiritual pressure, Dongshenyao is like a small boat, but no matter how strong the wind and waves are, it cannot sink the boat. Listening to Heart Demon's proud words, Dongshenyao smiled disdainfully and said, "Since I know that you are delaying time, do you think that if there is no reason, I will let your plan succeed?" "Oh, then tell me, what plan do you have?" Heart Demon said disapprovingly. In his opinion, Dongshenyao was just bluffing. The moment they got their body from the inner demon, the two were already separated and were no longer one, so after that, the inner demon in Dongshenyao's heart could no longer be spied on. "You are the result of the negative emotions in my heart, but you didn't say one thing. Your agreement represents my obsession, so just now you evolved that kind of illusion, because that's where I lived in my last life, and it's also where I live. The place I have always wanted to go back to, it represents my obsession. If you want to become stronger, then you can only absorb my negative emotions and obsessions. The reason why I didn't do it just now is to let you absorb all my obsessions and negative emotions. Only in this way, there is no burden. I can get the final sublimation. Now as long as I devour you and get everything from you, then my soul will be qualitatively improved." Speaking of this, Dongshen's dazzling eyes revealed two divine lights. "I didn't expect you to play this abacus, but aren't you afraid of capsize in the gutter?" the inner demon asked. "There is no free lunch in the world. Danger and opportunity coexist. If you want to gain benefits, you naturally have to take some risks. Since you have my memory, you should know that I cannot stand still and must become stronger. It's nothing to take some risks in order to become stronger. Well, let's stop talking nonsense. Now you should have absorbed it, so let's fight." As the voice of Dongshenyao fell, a spiritual pressure that was stronger than the inner demon burst out from his body. Boom! The terrifying spiritual pressure spread out, and at this moment, the earth collapsed, the surrounding high-rise buildings completely collapsed, and everything around them gradually returned to nothingness. At this time, what is here is only the thoughts of Dongshenyao and the heart demon, or the souls of the two, and there is no entity. And everything around is also transformed by the power of the soul of the inner demon, but now, in order to deal with the Eastern god Yaoxing inner demon, he does not dare to disperse his energy, so without the maintenance of his soul power, this illusion naturally cannot be maintained. But Dongshenyao and Shinmo didn't care about this. Anyway, they are only soul bodies now, and the environment is not important to them. Tashinyao used the power of his soul to condense Zanpakuto. He rushed straight to the demon. At the same time, the inner demon did not show weakness, and after condensing Zanpakuto, he rushed towards Dongshenyao. When the symphony of gold and iron sounded, and after a blow, the two took 2 steps back at the same time. "Dongshenyao, now my strength is not weaker than yours, let's see how you defeat me." As he spoke, the demon attacked again. "It's just my clone, fake is fake, see how I suppress you." As he spoke, Dongshenyao waved Zanpakuto to greet him. Suddenly the war broke out. In this empty space, Dongshenyao and the two fought fiercely. In terms of skill, strength, speed, etc., there is no difference between the two, so it is not easy to win by kendo alone. Unconsciously, the two have been fighting for several hours. Of course, this is only the time of the soul world. Because of the fast thinking speed, several hours have passed in this soul space, and not even a second has passed outside. Seeing that it was impossible to beat each other if they continued, both of them began to change their moves. Chapter 1453 Fierce Battle. After several hours of fighting, seeing that it was impossible to defeat the opponent by continuing to use kendo, Dongshenyao and Shinmo both began to change their moves. The 61-bound road, the 6-stand light prison. With the light of Dongshenyao's finger, 6 energy light sheets exuding golden rays of light immediately surrounded the inner demon and bound his hands. Although he gave up singing, but with Dong Shenyao's current strength, the power of the 6-stand light prison has not weakened much, and it is similar to the power after singing. Although it is only the number 61 bondage, it can only be regarded as an intermediate bondage, but it still takes some time for the inner demon to break free. The 88th Flying Dragon Strikes Thief, Thunder Cannon. Taking advantage of the time when the inner demon was trapped and unable to move, Dong Shenyao released a break at him. I saw a huge lightning Jinchuriki column shoot out from Dong Shenyao's palm, heading straight for the inner demon. Not good. Feeling the terrifying spiritual pressure contained in the light Jinchuriki column, the heart demon's face changed slightly. Even with his strength, if he was hit head-on by this attack, although he would not die, he would definitely not feel good. Even if the inner demon and the virtual are not exactly the same, they are still bound by the laws of this world, so he cannot use the power of the god of death, not only the liberation of Zanpakudo, but also the ghost path. However, he has obtained the ability of Phantom. In addition to Steel Skin and Beyond Regeneration, there is also Phantom Flash. I saw a black light ball condensed in front of the demon, and the next moment the light ball turned into a black light Jinchuriki column and shot out. Boom! The blue light Jinchuriki column collided with the black light Jinchuriki column, and suddenly a violent explosion sounded, and waves of air continued to spread, making Dong Shenyao have to withdraw. After a few breaths, the explosion gradually subsided, but before Dong Shenyao could check the situation of the demon, black balls hit Dong Shenyao overwhelmingly. The source of creation, the spirit of destruction, bury it, the blade of annihilation. Ta Shenyao finished Shikai in an instant, and then a palm stood in front of him. Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, sign. Boom. A powerful repulsion force was issued, and all the black light balls that approached him were immediately repelled. Since you have my memory, you should know that these attacks are useless to me. Dong Shenyao looked directly at the inner demon and said. At this time, the previous explosion had completely dissipated, the figure of the inner demon was also revealed, and the 6-stand light prison had been freed by him. Dong Shenyao was not surprised by this, because he didn't expect to be able to trap the inner demon for a long time by relying on the 6-stick light prison. Indeed, your ability to advance can attack, retreat can defend. It's really troublesome. When he said this, the heart demon's face clearly showed jealousy. Although he has many abilities of Dong Shenyao, he obviously does not have the ability to control the earth. So you are destined to lose to me, King of the Earth, appear. As the voice of Dong Shenyao fell, a huge rock giant appeared out of thin air. The rock giant is more than 100 meters tall, and this size alone gives people a huge sense of oppression. Humph! Isn't it just big? Watch me break it. Heart Demon's tone was obviously jealous, but he did what he said, and immediately began to condense virtual flashes. Whoosh! Soon a black light Jinchuriki column went straight to the rock giant. Boom! The Jinchuriki column alone is not small, but for ordinary people, for the rock giant, the Jinchuriki column alone is like a Kiba lottery. When the black light Jinchuriki column bombarded the rock giant, it did penetrate its body, but the hole punched out was nothing compared to the rock giant's huge body. Not to mention the rock giant itself, there is no life. As long as the power of Dong Shenyao does not disappear, then the rock giant will not dissipate. It's useless, watch me suppress you. Dong Shenyao shouted loudly, and then controlled the rock giant to slap the heart demon. Whoosh! The inner demon hurriedly used the ring to dodge, and then took the opportunity to condense a large number of virtual bullets to hit Dong Shenyao. This time Ta Shenyao didn't even use Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, to levy defense, and let Void hit the rock giant. Boom, boom, boom. The explosion sounded one after another, and it didn't take long for the rock giant to be riddled with holes, but while it was destroyed, the rock giant was constantly repairing. Damn it, it seems that just attacking the rock giant is useless at all. Thinking that this inner demon would not waste any more power, he stopped the virtual bullet, and then went straight to the rock giant. Do you want melee combat? It's useless. After seeing the behavior of the demon, Dong Shenyao quickly understood, but he was not worried, instead he showed a sneer. Since Dong Shenyao did not stop it, the inner demon quickly approached the rock giant, then jumped up and jumped onto the rock giant. At this time, Dong Shenyao was standing on the shoulders of the rock giant, and the heart demon had just arrived on the rock giant's legs. The two were nearly 100 meters apart, but this distance was nothing for Dong Shenyao and the others. No matter what, the inner demon had already approached Dong Shenyao within a few steps. Go to hell! The inner demon roared loudly, and then slashed straight at Dong Shenyao. It's useless, you can't beat me. While speaking, Dong Shenyao raised Zanpakudo to block the attack of the demon, and then he used his arm to force the demon back. From the moment you were born, you have been doomed to fail, surrender to me. Said, Dong Shenyao slashed straight at the demon. Humph! Don't be arrogant, I was born to devour you, and you are the one who loses. While speaking, the demon of the heart did not show weakness and fought against the Eastern god. Gravity field. Dong Shenyao and inner demon were naturally impolite. As soon as the gravity domain opened, inner demon's speed suddenly dropped. PFF'd. Because of the slower speed, the heart demon couldn't dodge as quickly as he was slashed by a knife from Dong Shenyao, and a bloodstain was drawn directly on his shoulder. A powerful steel slash on a chukas is enough to sever bones, but now it's only enough to cut through the skin of the demon. Because Dong Shenyao has never played against Vastord, he doesn't know how well Vastord's defense is, but that's what he thinks at most, and it may even be inferior to the inner demon. Ha ha ha, it's useless, although I don't have as many gorgeous skills as you, but my defense and resilience are not comparable to yours. Heart demon laughed. Chapter 1454 Suppress Inner Demons. Ha ha ha, it's useless, although I don't have as many gorgeous skills as you, but my defense and resilience are not comparable to yours. Heart demon laughed. While he was talking, the wound just cut by Dong Shenyao had healed. What if the defense is strong? I can kill you as well. After speaking, Dong Shenyao continued to attack the demon. Gravitational field. The inner demon's combat power is greatly reduced, and he will be hit by Dong Shenyao from time to time. Just because of his strong defense, it is difficult for Zanpakudo's attack alone to seriously damage the inner demon, but if it is only lightly injured, it won't take long for the demon to recover. Therefore, although it seems that Dong Shenyao has suppressed the inner demon at this time, it is very difficult to defeat the inner demon. However, Dong Shenyao did not stop because of this. After all, the relationship between him and the inner demon could be said to be endless, and the inner demon wanted to devour him to replace him and become a real life. And if he wants to become stronger, then he can only destroy the inner demon. So even if he knew that he couldn't completely kill the inner demon, Dong Shenyao had to fight it. Soon a day has passed in this soul space, and the battle between the two has fallen into a stalemate. Under the onslaught of Dong Shenyao, the inner demon had almost no power to fight back, but he didn't care about it. Anyway, Dong Shenyao couldn't hurt him, and he was not afraid to continue to consume it. Dong Shenyao's face was expressionless, and the inner demon couldn't see what was in his heart. During the battle, Dong Shenyao was actually thinking about how to defeat the inner demon. As for completely killing the demon, he didn't think about it for the time being, because it was a little unrealistic. By now, he knew very well that he couldn't completely kill the demon with his current ability. So what Dong Shenyao wanted was to temporarily seal the demon, and then deal with him later when his strength became stronger. Suddenly the inner demon was slightly taken aback, because he found that Dong Shenyao's attack seemed to have weakened. Is it an illusion? The inner demon was a little unsure for a while, but he still raised his spirits and began to sense it carefully. An hour later, a smile appeared on the corner of the heart demon's mouth. Sure enough, his attack power is weakening, and his speed has also dropped a little. Is it because the long-term battle consumes a lot, so it is unsustainable? Thinking of this, the heart demon was overjoyed, because it gave him hope. Time is like water. In the blink of an eye, another half-day has passed in this soul space. At this time, Dong Shenyao's combat power has been weakened by nearly a quarter, which makes him unable to suppress the demons, even in the field of gravity. Under the suppression of, the inner demon can already be on par with Dong Shenyao. And with the passage of time, Dong Shenyao's combat effectiveness is still further declining. In the same way, the inner demon ratio was actually a little weaker at the beginning, but it wasn't as big as Dong Shenyao's. The reason for this, in the heart demon's opinion, is because Dong Shenyao has used too many skills. Whether it is the rock giant or the gravity field, it will consume a lot of Dong Shenyao's spiritual power, so this is the case. Ha ha ha, Dong Shenyao brought this on your own. It seems that I can devour you today and replace it. Heart demon burst into laughter. Unconsciously, the two of them have come to the heart of the rock giant. There is no upper and lower left and right in this soul space, so they will not fall. Suddenly, Dong Shenyao seemed to have a flaw under the onslaught of the demon because of his lack of strength. Seeing the demon's eyes lit up, he went straight to the opening without hesitation, which made Dong Shenyao in a hurry. After several tricks, Dong Shenyao finally couldn't hold on any longer, and was directly stabbed in the heart by the inner demon. Although it is only a soul body, it will not be fatal, but the inner demon laughed. Ha ha ha, in the end, I still won, Dong Shenyao, you miscalculated. No, I won't lose. At this moment, Dong Shenyao's face finally showed a terrified expression, seeing this demon even more proud. Dong Shenyao, you have been severely injured, let me devour you. While speaking, the inner demon opened his mouth and bit towards Dong Shenyao's neck. Huh. Demon's Kiba teeth bit on Dong Shenyao's neck. He was suddenly stunned, because he found that the taste was not right. At the same time, I saw Dong Shenyao tightly hugging the body of the heart demon, and then the body gradually turned into a rock. Not good. The inner demon was shocked when he saw this, but before he could break free, he saw a chain of rocks appearing on the ground around him, directly binding the inner demon. Giants are undergoing huge changes. In the void on the side, the figure of Dong Shenyao is standing here. Innocent, do you think he'll be defeated so easily? Looking at the inner demon who was struggling constantly, a sneer appeared on the corner of Dong Shenyao's mouth. Just when he was fighting with the inner demon, he had already used the clone technique while the inner demon was not paying attention. Due to the law, most of the abilities of the Hokage world cannot be used in the world of death, including various avatars. Dong Shenyao had also studied it before, and wanted to create a clone technique that could also be used in the world of the god of death, but he didn't succeed for the time being, but he was not without a little gain. At this time, Dong Shenyao is in his own soul space. Although it will still be affected by the laws of this world, this influence will be weakened. Coupled with the previous research, Dong Shenyao can use the earth clone here. The inner demon didn't even know that Dong Shenyao, who was fighting with him, was unknowingly replaced by the earth clone. It is to lure Heart Demon 5.3 to take the bait, so the earth clone deliberately revealed flaws. Apparently Dong Shenyao's plan was successful. Soon the demon was buried in the heart of the rock giant under the shackles of the rock, and then the rock giant continued to change, and finally turned into a huge sphere, which looked like a planet from a distance. Just stay here for the time being, and I'll deal with you when I think of a way to get rid of you. After muttering to himself, after confirming that the inner demon couldn't break free from the shackles of the stone ball in a short time, Dong Shenyao left. Soul space. Consciousness returned, and Dong Shenyao slowly opened his eyes. Looking at the Bengyu in his hand, Dong Shenyao put it away. Although I haven't found the true spirit, the harvest is not small. I just don't know when I will have the strength to kill the inner demon. Chapter 1455 Experiment complete. Seeing that it was impossible to completely kill the demon in a short period of time, Dong Shenyao temporarily put this matter aside. Anyway, now that the inner demon has been suppressed by him, it is basically impossible to come out. He has time to find a way to completely solve the inner demon. By now, Dong Shenyao's cultivation this time has come to an end. Although Dong Shenyao has spent a long time in the soul space, in fact, only a few minutes have passed in the outside world. After he stopped cultivating, Dong Shenyao continued to study his own soul. Although the experiment has now reached a bottleneck, he has not stopped because of this. He hopes to find a breakthrough through continuous experiments. Time is like water, the sun and the moon are like shuttles, and a month has passed in the blink of an eye. Today Dong Shenyao was doing experiments in the laboratory, and Urahara Kazuki suddenly found him. East God-kun, the experiment of rebirth from a severed limb has been successful. Really? Take me to have a look. After speaking, Dong Shenyao put the research in his hands and followed Urahara 21 Kazuki straight to the research room. When Shenyao followed Urahara Kazuki into the research room, he found that many researchers were surrounding a god of death to check. Captain, this god of death is our test subject. His right hand was cut off during the battle with Shu, and now he has regained his right hand through our technique of regenerating from severed limbs. Urahara Kazuki pointed at the onlookers. The god of death introduced. Wen Yan Dong Shenyao did not speak, but just walked over and pulled the right hand of the teacher and student to check. Taking a closer look, Dong Shenyao did not find any trace of the link. How is it? Is there any discomfort in using it? Dong Shenyao asked. Lord Captain, I feel very good, although I was a little inflexible for a while, but the researchers said that this is because I have lost my right hand for a long time, and I will not have any problems after getting familiar with it for a while. Thank you very much, Captain. Death said excitedly. Losing his right hand was a huge blow to him, and even forced him to retire. And now that he has his right hand again, he can perform the task again. It's fine if there is no problem. The purpose of our 12th division is to serve all the gods of death. Dongshin Yao said humbly. After appeasing the god of death, Yao Dongshin looked at Kazuki Urahara and asked, have the data been recorded? Is there any problem? Oh. No, everything is exactly as we imagined. There is no accident no. In fact, it should be said that there are some accidents. Why? After hearing Kazuki Urahara's words, Shinyao was a little puzzled circa. I don't know why he said that there was no accident for a while, and then he said that there was an accident. Just waiting for him to ask, I just heard Urahara Kazuki take the initiative to say, to my surprise, the effect of the clinical trial was better than we expected. Before, we thought about whether there would be a phenomenon of rejection, but now it seems that because it is cloned, there is no difference from the original body of death, so there is almost no rejection. It's just that some death gods will feel some stiffness when they just get new limbs because they have been amputated for too long, but as long as they exercise well, they will be the same as their original limbs, without the slightest problem. Huh. Wen Yan Dongshin Yao let out a long sigh, and then said, that's good. By the way, Captain, we are also going to carry out an experiment. This time we are going to experiment with a large-scale rebirth of a severed limb. Before it was only a palm, this time we are going to try the rebirth of a severed limb of a leg. Going to find the disabled god of death, it won't be long before you can experiment, and you can see it for yourself. Well, then I'm really looking forward to it. Without letting Dongshin Yao wait for a long time, after more than 10 minutes, a researcher has walked in with a death god in a wheelchair. This wheelchair-bound death god has no legs, which is already a severe disability in CRIT. Sir, this is Yosuke Miki, a former member of the 11th Division, who volunteered to participate in the experiment. The researcher who pushed the wheelchair walked to Dongshin Yao and introduced the 11th team. Wen Yan Dongshin's dazzling eyes showed a hint of reminiscence. After all, he was also a member of the 11th team before. However, there were too many people in the 11th Division, and it was impossible for Dong Shenyao to know all of them, so he had never heard of the name Miki Yosuke. Walking to the wheelchair, Dong Shenyao smiled and said, Miki-kun, don't worry, our technology is already very mature, it won't take long for you to stand up again, or even go to the battlefield. I believe in you, Dongshin-sama. Miki Yosuke said excitedly. Well, let's start the experiment now. Following Dongshin Yao's order, the researchers immediately took action. Soon Miki Yosuke was placed in a culture tank, which was filled with nutrient solution, and at this time Miki Yosuke had been comatose by the researchers' use of drugs. As the instrument was activated, Miki Yosuke's lost legs in the cultivation chamber appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. After more than 10 minutes, Miki Yosuke had regained his legs, and then the researchers checked the data again and determined that there was no problem, and then stopped. Soon Miki Yosuke was released from the stab culture chamber, and then the effect of the medicine was lifted. I saw Miki Yosuke's eyes move slightly, and soon woke up. Is it over? Miki Yosuke asked, looking around in confusion. The experiment is over. Miki-kun, congratulations on having your legs again, stand up and take 2 steps. After hearing Dong Shinyao's words, Miki Yosuke looked down with excitement, and immediately saw his legs. Is this true? I'm not dreaming. Miki Yosuke gently stroked his legs with a look of disbelief. He had dreamed of having legs again before, but when he woke up, he still had to face the cruel reality. So at this time, Miki Yosuke was a little uneasy. He was afraid that all this was still a dream. It's not a dream, it's real. Stand up, Miki-kun. Ta Shinyao encouraged. Miki Yosuke didn't speak again after hearing the words, but slowly stood up while supporting the armrest of the wheelchair with both hands. Really, it's true. I finally stood up again, great. Under the excitement, Miki Yosuke walked forward with trembling legs. Although it was a little unfamiliar to use because I just got new legs, I was trembling when I walked, but in the end I could walk freely. Chapter 1456 Hold a Meeting. Seeing Yosuke Miki walking slowly like a toddler, no one laughed at him, and everyone present had a smile on their faces, because it meant that their experiment was really successful, whether it was less or less. A minor injury such as a palm, or a severe injury such as breaking both legs, they can be reborn from the broken limbs. Clap, clap, underscore. Dong Shenyao immediately clapped his hands, followed by others clapping their palms, and the applause in the research room was thunderous for a while. The crowd applauded to celebrate for Yosuke Miki to stand up again, and also to celebrate the success of his own experiment. Urahara-kun, congratulations to you, this experiment is successful, and those gods of death with mutilated limbs will be grateful to you in the future. It's all thanks to you, Captain. You laid the foundation for the past. Urahara Kazuki said a little embarrassedly. He was not flattering when he said that. At the beginning, he was studying Bangyu, and Dong Shenyao was basically responsible for the transformation of the soul and spirit Mukuro. Rebirth from a severed limb is also developed on the basis of Mukuro, and it is not difficult. Okay, you don't have to be humble, no matter what your credit is, you can't escape. Get ready, tomorrow we will demonstrate it in front of all the captains, and let them see the technology of our 12th division with their own eyes. Quote. No problem, then I'll prepare now. Kazuki Urahara left in a hurry. Dong Shenyao did not continue to stay here, and wanted to let the other captains see the rebirth of the severed limbs with their own eyes, and he had to ask the chief captain. Immediately, Dong Shenyao came to the first team to meet with Captain Yamamoto. After the two talked for a while, Dong Shenyao left with a smile on his face. Is it possible to do it? It's only a month. It's so fast. It seems that Dong Shenyao's ability is really strong. I hope it won't disappoint me tomorrow. Pass the instructions to the other squads and gather at the first squad early tomorrow morning. When the captains of each division received the news, they were a little stunned, not knowing what the captain was going to say this time. Nothing major has happened recently in Seoringe. Strange, why did the captain suddenly hold a meeting? This was what most captains thought. You must know that in the usual time, except for the regular meeting held on the first of each month, the captains of each division report to the captain, and the captain assigns new tasks. At other times, the captain hardly calls all the captains together. Unless something major happened, such as the last time when the soul was transformed into a rebellion, Captain Yamamoto held a meeting. At other times, if there is something wrong, Captain Yamamoto basically summons one or several captains alone. After learning that all the captains were found this time, everyone knew that something big must have happened, but what happened, Hirako Mako and others really couldn't think of it. On the other hand, Yaiki and Ujawali had some guesses. Both women knew that the 12th Division was busy with the rebirth of a severed limb recently, and Dong Shenyao had said before that it could be completed in about a month. It's just 1 month now, so the two women speculated that it might be a matter of rebirth from a severed limb. If this is really the case, it is not impossible for Captain Yamamoto to hold a meeting of all captains, because this is indeed a big event for the entire Seraiti. During dinner that night, Yi said the doubts in his heart. Today, the commander-in-chief of Dong Shenyao ordered us to go to him for a meeting tomorrow. Isn't this because your 12th Division's rebirth experiment from a severed limb was successful, right? That's right. The experiment was successful today, and then I told the captain. This is not a secret, so Dong Shenyao didn't hide it. It's so fast, I didn't expect that it really only took a month. Dongshin-kun, you are amazing. Ujawali exclaimed. Hey, it's nothing. Even though he said that, a smug look appeared on Dong Shenyao's face at that time. Dong Shenyao, can you show me how to regenerate from a severed limb? Yi asked curiously. Not now. Tomorrow I'll be experimenting in front of all the captains, and you'll see when that happens. Okay. Wen Yan Yi was a little disappointed, but it was getting late, so she didn't force it. Soon the night passed. Early the next morning, the captains arrived in the first team one after another. In order to solve the doubts in his heart as soon as possible, Jingle Chunchui and others came earlier. The captains who arrived early gathered together to chat in twos and threes, vaguely inquiring about the purpose of the captain's gathering of the people this time, but in the end, they found that almost everyone knew nothing about it. Soon the commander-in-chief had arrived, and at this time only Dong Shenyao and Yi were left behind. Seeing that the time for the meeting was approaching, Dong Shenyao and the two had not arrived yet, which made Gui Yancheng Kenpachi a little gloating. Hey, you dare to be late, the captain-in-chief will definitely criticize the two of them. Although being late is not a big mistake, he was happy when he saw Dong Shenyao slumped. It's just that just 1 minute before 8 o'clock in the meeting time, Dong Shenyao and Yi came together. Damn, only a little bit. After seeing the two of them, Gui Yancheng Kenpachi's face was a little ugly. Seeing that everyone else had already arrived, Yi glared at Dong Shenyao vaguely, complaining in his heart, I'll blame him, otherwise he wouldn't have come so late. But Dong Shenyao didn't care about it. After seeing Dong Shenyao and the two fighting in the team, Captain Yamamoto finally spoke. Everyone, I think most of you are wondering why I called everyone here this time, and the old man is no longer in business. The reason why I called everyone this time is at the request of Dongshin-kun. He has one thing I want to tell you. After that, Captain Yamamoto looked at Dong Shenyao, and at the same time everyone else's eyes fell on him. Being watched by so many captain-level powerhouses, Dong Shenyao was not at all unnatural, but it was a little surprised that Captain Yamamoto would let him talk about it, but he didn't ask much. Cough cough. After clearing his throat, Dong Shenyao looked at the crowd and said, the reason why I brought everyone here this time is because I want to announce something. Just yesterday, we had the 12th chapter on the rebirth technique from severed limbs. The team is complete and ready to use. Quote. What? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Chapter 1457 Public Experiment. After learning that the severed limb rejuvenation technique had been successful, everyone present was shocked at first, and then overjoyed. Everyone was surprised that the 12th division was so fast. Previously, Captain Yamamoto had given Dong Shenyao 3 months to develop the technique of regenerating a severed limb. Who would have known that it had only been a month, but he had already succeeded. However, this can be considered good news for the captains, so many people smiled after being surprised. Of course, there are also unhappy ones, such as Gui Yancheng Kenpachi. Although the severed limb rebirth technology can obviously benefit Saranjay, Gui Yancheng Kenpachi doesn't care. Anyway, he is not a disabled person, and he does not think that he will need this kind of technology based on his own strength. Therefore, Gui Yancheng Janpachi hopes that Dong Shenyao will fail, so that he can take the opportunity to attack Dong Shenyao. It has to be said that hatred is very wonderful. Dong Xinyao clearly did not offend Gui Yancheng Zhanpachi too much, but Gui Yancheng Zhanpachi still hates Dong Xinyao. Of course, it can also be said that he is a little jealous. Jealous of Dong Xinyao. At the beginning, he didn't know how much effort he'd put in to become the captain. On the other hand, Dong Xinyao became the captain not many years after graduating, which is naturally enviable and envious. It's empty talk, Captain Dongshan. Since you said that the technology has been perfected, can you show it in front of everyone? It's just an eye-opener for us. At this time Kuchiki Silver Ling also spoke. Since the two had a grievance over the transformation of their souls, Kuchiki Silver Suzu will also target Tashinyao intentionally or unintentionally. Of course, I will do it even if you don't say anything about Captain Kuchiki, and I have everything ready. Speaking of which, Dong Xinyao looked at Captain Yamamoto and said, the captain's instrument is still accepted. The people being treated are already waiting outside the first team, and I hope the commander-in-chief will give them an order to allow them in. Quote. No problem, I'll let someone bring them in. After speaking, the captain directly called in the deputy captain of the first team, Minister Jiro. Nagajiro, the 12th division are staying outside the team building now, go and bring everyone in. Yes. After taking the order, Minister Jiro left directly. I didn't make everyone wait for a long time. In less than 10 minutes, I saw some gods of death carrying instruments and walked in. In addition, there was a god of death behind him who lost an arm. After obtaining the permission of the captain, Dong Xinyao didn't talk nonsense, and directly began to control the instrument with the cooperation of the researcher. The Grim Reaper with the broken arm had been informed before, so he was not surprised, but he was a little nervous to see so many captains here. After debugging the instrument, Dong Xinyao personally sent the broken arm Reaper into the training warehouse. Everyone, it's time to witness the miracle. I hope you don't blink, so as not to miss anything. After speaking, Dong Xinyao personally activated the instrument. At this time, the eyes of everyone present fell on the training warehouse, and through the transparent glass on the training warehouse, everyone stared at the broken arm death. There was no splendid brilliance, and there was no strange vision. Under the gazes of everyone, I saw that the arm that was cut off by the god of death was slowly created. Seeing this magical scene, everyone opened their mouths wide, but they didn't. Not the slightest sound was made. At this time, there was no other movement in the room except for the slight sound of the instrument running, and everyone's attention was almost focused on the training cabin. After sensing everyone's reaction, the corner of Dong Xinyao mouth showed a hint of pride. Because only one arm is regenerated, the speed is relatively fast, and it will be over in less than 10 minutes. With the cultivation chamber opened, the researcher released the god of death in it, and then woke him up. Great, great, I finally have an arm again. The death god waved the arm he had just obtained excitedly, with a look of ecstasy on his face. At this time, the surrounding captains finally came to their senses. At this moment, they completely believed what Dong Xinyao said, and the rebirth technique from severed limbs was indeed successful. Tattoo. The sound of footsteps sounded, and Aikawa Luowu walked over to the Shinigami who was participating in the test, and then took his arm and checked it. I can't even see the slightest flaw. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have thought that this arm is actually a new growth. Aikawa Luowu exclaimed. What an amazing technique, Captain Dongshan, you definitely made a great contribution to our Serangé. Jingle Chunshui exclaimed in admiration. It's an award, and it's not just me, it's the result of the joint efforts of many people from the 12th Division. Dong Xinyao said with a humble expression. And this reaction of his also won the favor of everyone. After all, there are not many people who can maintain this attitude in the face of such great credit. After all, the 12th Division has developed so much under your leadership of Dongshan-kun. Naturally, this great merit must be credited to you. Dongshan-kun doesn't know what requests you have, but as long as you can, I will satisfy you. What? After hearing Captain Yamamoto's words, many people showed shocked expressions, and then they looked at Dong Xinyao with envy. Even though they are all captain-level powerhouses, this does not mean that they have no desires. At this time, Dong Shenyao was also a little surprised. He didn't expect the captain to make such an arrangement, but he quickly focused his attention on the request. What do you want? Because he never thought that the captain would reward him like this before, Dong Shenyao didn't know what to ask for a while. Of course, Dong Shenyao also knew that if he asked too much, Captain Yamamoto would not agree, so he had to grasp a certain degree, which would not only gain a lot, but also would not anger Captain Yamamoto. Dong Shenyao's mind quickly turned on this matter, and he soon had an idea. Captain, I hope that the Technology Development Bureau can be independent and become a separate department, and its status is equivalent to each division. But at the same time, the Technology Development Bureau must also accept my leadership. What? Everyone was shocked when they heard that. They didn't expect Dong Shenyao to make such a request. If the Technology Development Bureau is only independent, and it is not a big deal to get the same status as each division, the key is that the Technology Development Bureau still has to accept the leadership of Dong Shenyao, or the leadership of the 12th Division. The same. If the status of the Technology Development Bureau is equal to that of other divisions, then the 12th Division leads the Technology Development Bureau. Doesn't it mean that the 12th Division's status is above other divisions? Chapter 1458 Tashenyao's Request. After listening to Dong Shenyao's request, everyone was shocked. If the status of the Technology Development Bureau is equal to that of other divisions, then the 12th Division leads the Technology Development Bureau. Doesn't it mean that the 12th Division has a higher status than other divisions? Above. After the surprise, everyone's faces were different. Yaiki and Ujawali naturally supported Dong Shenyao, but the two women were a little worried. They were afraid that Dong Shenyao's request would anger Captain Yamamoto. On the other hand, the two veteran captains, Jingle Chunchui and Yukitaki Shuru, squinted slightly at Dong Shenyao, as if to see through his true thoughts. As for Hirako Meiko and Aikawa Luowu, who usually have a good relationship with Dong Shenyao, they were frowning at this time. To be honest, they were not very happy about Dong Shenyao's request, but at the time they didn't know if they should object. After all, the relationship between the two sides was pretty good, and they didn't want to be deadlocked because of this matter. However, Gui Yancheng Janba didn't care about so much. He stood up and said, Dong Shenyao, what do you mean? Do you want to be above us and be on an equal footing with the captain? After questioning Dong Shenyao, the ghost Yancheng Janpachi didn't wait for him to respond, then looked at Captain Yamamoto and said, Master Chief, if Dong Shenyao just wants to improve the status of the Technology Development Bureau, then I have no opinion at all. But he wants to be superior to others. Come on, then I'll be the first to refuse. Cough cough. Gui Yancheng Janba's voice just finished. I saw Deadwood Silver Bell coughed, and then also stood up and said, this request of Captain Dongshan is indeed too much. Except for the captain, no one can surpass others. Above people. Facing the opposition of the two, Dong Shenyao did not speak, but looked at the commander-in-chief calmly, because he knew that the real decision-making power was still in the hands of the commander-in-chief. At this time, Captain Yamamoto looked at everyone with a blank face. From Dong Shenyao expressing his request to Kuchiki Silverbell's objection, his expression has not changed, and people can't see his inner thoughts. Just after Kuchiki Silverbell finished speaking, Captain Yamamoto finally spoke. I wonder what you all think about Dongshan-kun's request. In the face of the captain's question, everyone looked at each other. Aikawa Luowu and Heiko Meiko wanted to say something, but finally endured. And Kionjo Kenpachi and Kuchiki Silver Suzu have already finished speaking, so they didn't speak anymore. Instead, Liuch Quanshi stood up. Captain Tashin's contribution to Saraiti is obvious to all. Since he took over as the captain of the 12th Division, he has made a huge contribution to Saraiti, so I don't think his request is too much. Everyone was not surprised that Liuch Quanshi supported Dong Shenyao. After all, no one knew that he was drawn by Dong Shenyao. Then Yaiki and Ujawali also spoke for Dong Shenyao. On the other hand, when the captain of the 3rd Division, Fengchaolo Juro, was about to stand up, Dong Shenyao gave him a slight look, and immediately Feng Chaolojiro's body froze, and his slightly raised foot fell again. Waiting for a while, I saw that no one was talking, and I only heard Captain Yamamoto say, "Toshin-kun, in view of your contribution to Serai, I agree to your request. In the future, the Technology Development Bureau will become a separate department has the same status as each division and is under your jurisdiction at the same time. However, the status of the 12th Division remains unchanged." Quote. Seeing that the Commander-in-Chief actually agreed, the faces of Gui Yancheng Kenpachi and Kuchiki Silverling became a little ugly. Although the commander finally said that the status of the 12th Division remained the same, it was of no use. The position of the Director of the Technology Development Bureau is comparable to that of the Captain, but Dong Shenyao can lead the Director of the Technology Development Bureau. Isn't this a disguised statement that Dong Shenyao's status is higher than those of their captains? Damn, what the hell is the captain thinking? Why did he agree to this request from Dong Shenyao? At this time, Gui Yancheng Jonpachi felt depressed in his heart. At the same time, Hiriko Mako and the others also had some doubts in their hearts. They didn't understand how the captain would agree to Dong Shenyao's seemingly unreasonable request. And only Dong Shenyao himself understood why the commander-in-chief would agree, because in this way, although his status seems to be higher than that of the captains of other divisions, it is only in name at most, at least he has no right to command other divisions. If he needs the assistance of other teams to do something, he can't order it, he can only negotiate as in the past. It was precisely because he understood this that Captain Yamamoto agreed. After all, Dong Shenyao's contribution this time is not small, and it is okay to increase his status in name. Although it seems that the benefits that Dong Shenyao gets are not as big as he imagined, only he himself knows how. Captain, then I don't know who the Director of the Technology Development Bureau will accept. Kuchiki Silverbell asked with a gloomy face. Since the Technology Development Bureau is managed by Dong Shenyao, then the director's confession is naturally performed by him, and I won't bother. Well, are there other things? If not, then the meeting will be dismissed. Although he was not reconciled to the promotion of Dong Shenyao's status, the commander-in-chief had absolute authority in Seranjie. Since it was his decision, even the top nobleman, Silver Suzu Kuchiki, could not change it, so he could only accept his fate. Soon everyone said goodbye and left, and at the same time, many people expressed some kindness to Dong Shenyao when they left. After all, not to mention the improvement of Dong Shenyao's status, the technology of rebirth from severed limbs alone is enough to make them pay attention. There are many disabled Grim Reaper in each squad, and these people need treatment. Although the severed limb rebirth technology will be open to all the gods of death for free, but the 12th Division has limited energy, and it is impossible to restore all the gods of death at once. There must be a sequence. In order to allow their subordinates to reply as soon as possible, these captains will definitely request Dong Shenyao in the future. Dong Shenyao didn't wait too long. After saying goodbye to everyone, he greeted the death god of the 12th Division and began to carry the equipment. Dong Shenyao, you really dare to ask. You know, at first I was really afraid that the captain would be angry. Yi exclaimed after walking out of the room. If I'm not sure, I won't bring it up. And don't look at my status has improved. In fact, the real benefits were not great at that time. At least if I want to order you to do things for me now, you are completely can be refused. After hearing Dong Shenyao's words, Yi suddenly showed a sudden look. As for Maoji Walai, as a god of death who had lived for more than 2,000 years, she had already understood it. East God Kun, I don't understand, why did you make such a request? Asked Hana Lai Uno. Chapter 1459 Violence. East God Kun, I don't understand, why did you make such a request? Asked Hana Lai Uno. In her opinion, since Dong Shenyao knew that although doing so would improve his status, he would not get much benefit, so why did he make such a request? Facing Mao Zhawali's question, Dong Shenyao smiled slightly and said, it doesn't seem to have much substantial benefits now, but if an accident does happen, it will be different. Accident? What accident? Ujawali asked. You said, what would be the situation if the captain who joined the chief dies? Mao Shawali and Yi Yi stared at Dong Shenyao with wide eyes. They didn't expect him to say such a thing. Ta Shenyao, you're joking, how could he die with the strength of the captain? In the night, the captain is like a god. It can even be said that the captain of Yamamoto is the spiritual support of almost all the gods of death in CORIT. Column, no one thought that the captain would be defeated or even die. In their opinion, the captain Yamamoto was an invincible existence. East God Kun, don't do anything bad, the power of the captain is not something you can guess. Ujawali hurriedly reminded. I said, Sister Wa, don't you think I'm going to kill the commander-in-chief? Dong Shenyao was a little dumbfounded at this moment. Although now he is much less afraid of the captain, but this does not mean that he will kill the captain. Anyway, according to the plot, the captain is going to die sooner or later. In this case, he naturally does not need to work hard to kill the captain himself. That's good. Wen Yan Maoji Huli heaved a sigh of relief. Even though she is the first generation of Kenpachi, and at this time, she has broken through the boundary between the god of death and the void, and her strength has greatly increased, but she still does not have the confidence to defeat Captain Yamamoto. Therefore, what Ujawali was most afraid of was that Dong Shenyao was too inflated, and then he went to challenge the captain. Don't worry, I'm just saying maybe. If the captain is really dead, then with my status, I won't have the chance to take the position of the captain. Hee, Dong Shenyao, I advise you to stop daydreaming. How can the captain die so easily? I think even if you die, the captain will not die. Yi unceremoniously attacked Dong Shenyao. Who can say things like life and death? Well, let's not talk about it. I'm going back to the 12th Division to announce the matter. See you tonight. Go. In the 12th Division, Dong Shenyao directly called up all the people in the Technology Development Bureau, and then talked about the independent thing again. With the approval of the chief captain, from now on, the Technology Development Bureau will independently form the 12th Division and become a separate department like a ghost group, with the same status as each division, and the position of the director of the Technology Development Bureau is the same as the captain. After hearing Dong Shenyao's words, the people of the Technology Development Bureau were overjoyed. Although most people could not become the director of the Technology Development Bureau, it did not mean that they did not gain anything. Once the status of the Technology Development Bureau is improved, the management status of the Technology Development Bureau will be improved. But the most striking thing is the position of the director of the Technology Development Bureau. Before, the director of the Technology Development Bureau was only equivalent to the deputy captain. Don't look at it, it was only a word difference. At that time, the status was very different. In comparison, everyone has no opinion on Kazuki Urahara as the director before. But it is different now. The director of the Technology Development Bureau is equivalent to the captain, so this is enough to inspire the ambition of some people. Captain, who is the director? Is it Kazuki Urahara? A researcher asked. That's right, Urahara Kazuki is still the director of the Technology Development Bureau. Ta Shinyao said calmly. My lord, I don't accept it. At this time, a researcher shouted directly, and when everyone's eyes fell on him, he only heard him say, since the director of the Technology Development Bureau has the same status as the captain, why is it Captain Dongshan, you are here to appoint? Shouldn't the commander-in-chief accept the order? Hee, your question is a good one, but unfortunately, I haven't finished my words yet. The commander-in-chief has one more fate, that is, the Technology Development Bureau is still under my command, which means that even the director of the Technology Development Bureau must listen to me. Yes, and at the same time, I will decide who the director will be. No, the god of death who had questioned Dong Shenyao before hearing the words roared. Impossible, I don't believe it. I'm looking for the commander-in-chief. After saying this, this person is about to leave. Whoosh. In an instant, Dong Shenyao had come to the god of death, and then punched. Bang. Dong Shenyao's fist landed on the belly of the death god. This blow directly knocked him to the ground, and then Dong Shenyao stepped on it with one foot. Bang. This foot directly stepped on the chest of Death God, and he only felt that his internal organs were displaced, and several ribs were broken. You are rude and contradicting your boss. You have violated the laws of Saranjay. Dong Shenyao looked down at the god of death and said, and the man was speechless in pain. Do you still have questions about my decision? Dong Shenyao asked after glancing at everyone. No more. The adult's decision is the most correct one. Seeing that Dong Shenyao was so brutal, if he said he would hit someone, how could others dare to refute him? Okay, the aftermath is left to Urahara-kun, I'll go first. After speaking, Dong Shenyao turned and left. It wasn't until Dong Shenyao left for more than 5 minutes that everyone let out a long breath. Everyone, although I know that you are a little dissatisfied with my continuing to serve as director, if you have any dissatisfaction you can say, I am willing to chat with the dissatisfied person alone. During the speech, a terrifying spiritual pressure came from Urahara Kazuki. Flashed away. It's so strong. At this moment, the 1.4 talents were shocked to find that they looked a little sloppy. Although the skills were good, Urahara Kazuki, who didn't look strong, was so scary. In this way, Urahara Kazuki temporarily subdued the Technology Development Bureau. The Technology Development Bureau has independently established the 12th Division, so naturally they have to move, and in addition to rearrange the internal structure, so in the next period of time, Urahara Kazuki became very busy, which made him often complain to Tashinyao give him such a big trouble. As for the promotion of status, Urahara Kazuki did not care. The technology of rebirth from a severed limb was quickly spread out, which made the Shinigami's death gods excited, especially those with physical disabilities, who regarded Dong Shenyao and the 12th Division as their saviors, and at this time the people of the 12th Division also started to get busy. Chapter 1460 exposed by Ausch. With the dissemination of the severed limb regeneration technology, the 12th Division suddenly became busy. In the entire Saranjay, there are not a few Shinigami with body defects. The lighter ones may only lack 1 or 2 fingers, or lack ears, noses, etc. Although they are still incomplete, at least they have little impact on their strength at the time. In addition, there are many serious ones, such as the lack of arms or legs, which is considered serious. And these gods of death with disabilities who want to receive treatment naturally can't go directly to the 12th Division, and then they can't mess up. Therefore, after deliberation, the captains decided to come from one division to another. The first is the second team. With the relationship between Dong Shenyao and Yi, it is natural to take care of the second team. The second division also belongs to the main battle corps. Among them, there are many disabled gods of death. In order to treat the disabled gods of death in Saranjay as soon as possible, the 12th Division is busy. Although the severed limb regeneration technology was invented by the Technology Development Bureau, the user is the 12th Division. This is also Dong Shenyao's decision for the Technology Development Bureau. Just like the name of 21, they are only responsible for developing technology. As for the promotion and use of technology, it is still carried out by the 12th Division. Although the amputated limb rebirth technology is relatively mature, Urahara Kazuki is not satisfied, because the speed of amputated limb rebirth is still a bit slow and the efficiency is relatively low. If the current situation continues, it will not be possible within a few years. Treat those crippled gods of death. In order to improve the efficiency, Urahara Kazuki led the people to optimize the rejuvenation technology of severed limbs, striving to improve the efficiency of treatment. However, Tashinyao didn't ask any further questions about these matters. Even Tashinyao was in charge of the healing of the crippled god of death, Yahomaru Riza, and he himself was thinking about how to completely get rid of his inner demons. Although the inner demon has been sealed at this time, it is like a time bomb, and it may explode when it is uncertain. As long as the inner demons are not completely eliminated in one day, Dong Shenyao cannot relax for a day. Maybe we can have a chat with Ujawali. Dong Shenyao suddenly thought of Ujawali, who also inspired his inner demons. Of course, Maujawali and Dong Shenyao are still somewhat different. Although the emptiness in Maujawali's body can also be called an inner demon, there are some differences after all. After all, Dong Shenyao itself does not belong to this world. Just whether it is the same or not, Dong Shenyao wants to learn from it, maybe it will help. 10 of Dong Shenyao ran to the fourth team, which made Yi know this matter. Mao Zihualai broke the boundaries *. It has been a while since she has appeared in her body. Although Yi Si has not completely conquered the void, she has also summed up some experience in dealing with the void in her body. These experiences are still somewhat helpful to Dong Shenyao plus equals. Time is like an arrow, the sun and the moon are like shuttles, and a year has passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Dong Shenyao chatted with Ujawali about some things about fighting against internal weakness as usual. After having lunch with him, he returned to the 12th division. It's just that he was found by Yahomaru Liza just after he came back. Captain, the people from the first team just came and said that the captain is looking for you. Oh, I see. After sending Riza Yahomaru away, Ta Shenyao couldn't help but fell into deep thought. Strange, what did the captain ask me to do? I shouldn't have done anything recently. At this time, Dong Shenyao was a little confused, but he also knew that he couldn't think of anything here, so he rushed to a squad. Captain, are you looking for me? East God-kun, you're here, here's a piece of information for you to read. The commander-in-chief didn't say why he was looking for Dong Shenyao, but handed him a document. After Dong Shenyao took over the document and read it, his expression changed slightly. It turned out to be this matter, but I didn't expect it to be discovered. Dong Shenyao is no stranger to the things recorded in the document. It is about the secret research of cloning Death God by Oshu. Of course, although it was said to be a secret, at that time, Dong Shenyao actually knew about it all the time, and he even had the experimental results of Yujiao Oxu here. Although Dong Shenyao did not deliberately conceal this matter for Yu Zhong'o, but because Yu Zhong'o is usually more cautious, and Dong Shenyao sometimes covers it up for him, so more than a year has passed. No one found that Yuji Osh was doing research outside of work. After the Reaper clone project was banned, Yuji Oxu had been transferred from the Technology Development Bureau, and the reason for this was to have time for secret research. In the following time, Yuji Oxu often used his spare time to do experiments. Since Ta Shenyao often secretly provided him with the items needed for the experiment, Yujiao Oxu's experiment progressed very smoothly. It's just that Dong Shenyao didn't expect that this matter was finally exposed. Did the people from the 12th division discovered it, or was it some secret intelligence department? At this time, Dong Shenyao suddenly became alert, because whether it was discovered by the people from the 12th division, or someone from Seoringe, what the secret intelligence department found out was not a good thing. If the people from the 12th division found out, but now Dong Shenyao doesn't know about it, but the 383 commander knew it first, then that means that there are spies placed by the commander in the 12th team. Second, if someone from the secret intelligence department found out, it would be even worse. Ta Shenyao is now considered to be a senior member of Seoringe, and he still understands the intelligence department of Seoringe, which is the 2nd division. However, Dong Shenyao knew that if this information was really detected by the 2nd division, he would definitely get the news first because of his relationship with Yi. But not now, that is to say, it was not the 2nd division who found out this information, but an intelligence department that he did not know about. If this is the case, then it means that Captain Yamamoto has a very secretive troop in the hands of the master, and even other captains do not know the existence of this troop. But now is not the time for Dong Shenyao to think about the reason. The most important thing at this time is to deal with the current situation first. Captain, is this true? Dong Shenyao asked with a surprised look. There will be no problem with the information. What do you think of Dong Shin-kun about this matter? Captain Yamamoto looked at Dong Shenyao with a blank expression and asked. Captain, this is my dereliction of duty. Dong Shenyao did not shirk his responsibility.